Chapter 173. The young man hurriedly stepped back. As for the two guards who had their chests pierced through, they were already dead, connected by the toad's broken tongue. Zhengxian, are you all right? Not far away. The middle-aged man coughed out a mouthful of blood and rushed over. The young man shook his head, then looked up at the valley and said, "He saved me." The pretty girl's eyes shone brightly. The young man was only 16 or 17 years old, and he still looked a bit immature. However, the power of that sword move was indeed terrifying. He had easily cut off the toad's tongue, giving people a feeling that he had done it so easily. "Thank you, young hero, for saving my life." The middle-aged man was also shocked by Yi Chen's power, but he was still calm. He clearly knew that the outside world was a vast world, and that some of the most talented geniuses could be as powerful or even more powerful than the older generation. For example, Wei Dongxi, the head disciple of the Green Bamboo Martial School, a rank 7 institution in the Thousand Thread Nation, could be counted as a great genius. Yi Chen's robe fluttered in the air. Within a blink of an eye, he appeared in front of the crowd and said blandly, "It's nothing. Don't mention it." The pretty girl still said gratefully, "If it weren't for you, we would all have died here. Be careful." Before she finished her words, the pretty girl's expression changed. In her line of sight, the toad's eyes had turned blood red, and it spurted out a cloud of 5-colored beast chi towards Yi Chen. The beast chi swept across the entire area, withered all the plants in its path, and left a deep ditch on the ground. Yi Chen's senses were extremely sharp, and he was able to sense every single move of the toad. He tilted his body and swung the dragon's spring sword, releasing a light blue stream of sword chi. Puff! The sword chi cut open the 5-colored beast chi and fiercely hacked on the toad's head. Gug-gug-goo! The toad let out muffled screeches, and its house-sized body was sent flying backwards, creating a few large cracks on the valley wall, causing rocks to tumble down. Mountain condensing sword chi. This toad was much weaker than the black-crowned serpent, but it had a great defensive power. A normal sword attack wouldn't be able to kill it. Yi Chen didn't want to waste any more time, so he launched a small attack. Puff, puff, puff. The thick sword chi contained a great deal of power. It easily cut through the rainbow toad's ugly skin and pierced through, leaving a deep mark on the wall behind it. After suffering such a heavy blow, the 5-colored toad's body twitched violently. Then its body went limp and it stopped breathing. Clang! Putting the sword back into its scabbard, Yi Chen reached out his hand and waved. The inner pellet of the 5-colored toad broke out of its chest and was sucked over. Amazing! The toad is dead. The 5-colored toad is equal to a mid-clasping Yuan realm martial artist. Martial artists at the same level as them would have to stay away from it. This person is even younger than my nephew. I didn't expect him to be able to kill the 5-colored toad with a single strike. The surviving guards were all mid or late condensing reality realm warriors. They had always heard about how powerful some of the geniuses were, but they had never seen them in person. Today they were all shocked. Yi was and said, "Zhen," and Yi Zhen. Yi Chen shook his head. "I'm leaving soon. No need to tell me my name." He had saved the toad without much effort, so he didn't need to waste too much of his time. Since he could easily save the toad, why not? Putting away the toad's core, Yi Chen turned around and said, "Everyone, be careful. I won't bother you anymore." Then he was about to leave. Cough, cough. All of a sudden, the middle-aged man spat out a mouthful of blood, which smelled horrible. His face turned colorful. Yi Chen frowned. "You've been poisoned." The middle-aged man activated his Zhen Qi and tried to suppress the poison. He forced a smile and said, "The toad's poisonous beast Qi is way too powerful. It poisoned me through my protective Zhen Qi. Don't move. Let me try to detoxify you." Yi Chen flashed behind the middle-aged man, put his hands on the man's back, and poured his pure, mysterious Zhen Qi into the man's body through the meridians in his arms. After a while, Yi Chen took back his hands, let out a breath of turbid air, and said, "The toad's poison is way too powerful. Zhen Qi alone won't be able to detoxify it. We have to make some detoxifying pellets." Luckily, he is not poisoned too much, so he won't be in danger for now. The pretty woman thought of something. Normally, when someone is poisoned by a highly poisonous beast, the detoxifying pellet must be made from the beast. This toad, the pretty woman looked at Yichun. The toad was killed by him, so he had the right to deal with it. She couldn't make a decision on her own. You guys do whatever you want. He didn't plan on taking the materials from the toad. After dissecting the materials from the toad, the group was ready to leave. Yichun saw that they were either injured or poisoned, and they didn't have much fighting power. They probably wouldn't be able to walk out of this dangerous 5-poison mountain. He said helplessly, "Let me send you out." The pretty woman was grateful. She had a good impression of Yichun. On the way, Yichun learned about their names and situations. The pretty woman's name was Lin Qingmei. She was the daughter of the Lin family in Black Rock City, which was near the 5-poison mountain. The poison middle-aged man was called Lu Jingde. He was Lu Jingshuan's father and was also an elder of the Lin family. They entered the 5-poison mountain to collect a rare spiritual plant, Zen fragrance grass. However, the Zen fragrance grass was guarded by the toad, so they were almost wiped out. After leaving the 5-poison mountain, they walked for hundreds of miles towards the east. A city built with black rocks appeared in front of Yichun. It's about the same size as the Qingfeng city. It shouldn't be very powerful. Normally, the martial schools had their own mountains and were very powerful. The big families lived in bigger and more prosperous cities. For example, the Luo city where the Yi family lived was only second to the Forgotten City and the Gale City. The Black Rock City couldn't be compared to it. After entering the city, Yichun saw that the guards had strange expressions on their faces, but he didn't pay much attention to it. The Lin family was located in the southern area of the Black Rock City. Judging from the size and layout of the city, they could barely be counted as a medium-sized family. There was a huge gap between them and the big families. "Miss, you're back. The leader of the family asked us to go see him as soon as we saw you." Master Lu was poisoned? The housekeeper, who was standing in front of the gate, saw Lin Qingmei and the others. His eyes brightened, and he hurried over to greet them. However, when he saw Lu Jingde's condition, he couldn't help but yell out. Lin Qingmei forced a smile and said, "All right, I'll be right there." Inside a room in the small courtyard, Yichun sat on the bed with his legs crossed, holding a low-rank soul stone in each of his hands. He had his eyes closed and was training. The mysterious great art had 11 levels in total, and each level was more difficult than the previous one. Before reaching the 11th level, he had to try his best to step into the higher levels as soon as possible and increase his fighting power. Otherwise, if he encountered a late clasping Yuan realm warrior, he would not have enough power. After an unknown period of time, crack! The low-rank soul stone in his hand shattered. Yichun opened his eyes. "I'm now at the peak of the 6th level. I guess I'll be able to reach the 7th level in a couple of days." Throwing away the broken low-rank soul stone, Yichun walked out of the bed. Boom! Right at this moment, the entire Lin family slightly shook, as if a small earthquake had happened. Someone is fighting? Without much hesitation, Yichun opened the door and rushed towards the source of the tremor. On the welcoming plaza of the Lin family, two groups of people were facing each other. The group of people in the welcoming hall were the powerful warriors of the Lin family, while on the other side were a group of people in yellow robes, led by a chubby middle-aged man and an elderly man in black robes. On the Lin family side, a man was lying on the ground while puking blood. He had obviously been wounded by someone, and the wound was quite serious. Lin Taimu, it seems like you haven't learned your lesson yet. If you don't hand over the forging method of our Huang family's cold iron sword, I'll injure one of your Lin family's powerful warriors every day. Let's see how long you can last." The chubby middle-aged man said in a creepy tone while caressing the emerald ring on his finger. The master of the Lin family's face was pale and bloodless, as if he had been seriously wounded. He ordered someone to help the injured Lin family's powerful warrior up, then said in a cold voice, "The forging method of the cold iron sword was passed down by the Lin family's ancestors. It has nothing to do with your Huang family. How can you claim that it was lost by your Huang family?" The chubby middle-aged man said, My Huang family established itself in the Black Rock City much earlier than your Lin family. You're just an outsider. How can you have the forging method of the cold iron sword? Elder Lu, please teach him a lesson, so that he won't forget the pain of the past. The old man in black robes smiled evilly. Master of the Lin family, you were hit by my black killing palm half a month ago. How are you feeling now? Your meridians must be in great pain every day. Don't you dare. Lin Qingmei couldn't help but walk out from the crowd. All right, I forgot to tell you one thing. I'm interested in your daughter. Master of the Lin family, what do you think? A lustful look flashed across the old man's eyes. He reached out his hand, and a tremendous amount of Zhen Qi emerged from his palm, preparing to suck Lin Qingmei over. Qi! A sword Qi shot out, cutting off the old man's Zhen Qi. Who are you? The old man in black robes had a gloomy look on his face. Yichen walked to the plaza and said, You're disturbing me. The chubby middle-aged man thought that it was a powerful martial artist. But when he saw a teenager who looked no older than 16 or 17 walk out, he laughed and said, Lin Taimu, don't tell me that this is a powerful martial artist invited by your Lin family. Do you really think that he can stop Elder Lu? The old man in black robes said coldly, Little brat, if you dare to stop me, you will die today. When Lin Qingmei saw Yi Chun, a joyful look flashed across her face. But soon after, a worried look appeared on her face. She said in a low voice, Why did you come out? Yi Chun asked, Who are they? Lin Qingmei said, That hateful fatty is the master of the Huang family in the Black Rock City. He has been coveting the forging method of the cold iron sword of our Lin family. He didn't dare to touch our Lin family in the past. But recently, he invited this powerful martial artist called Elder Lu, who injured my father. I came to the Five Poisons Mountain Range to collect some Zen herbs to treat my father's injury. Oh, Yichen nodded and didn't say another word. Lin Taimu, the master of the Lin family, asked, Qingmei, is this little brother the one who brought you out of the Five Poisons Mountain Range? Yes, father. Since he saved our lives, why don't you take him to rest? Lin Taimu could tell that Yi Chun was an early clasping Yuan realm martial artist, so he didn't want to get him involved in this. Lin Qingmei had a complicated look on her face. Yi Chun's power was obvious. He was as powerful as a mid-clasping Yuan realm martial artist. However, that Elder Lu was even more powerful. He had already reached the peak of the mid-clasping Yuan realm. Even her father had been injured by him. Deep down in her heart, she really hoped that Yi Chun could help them. However, this hope was too slim. After all, she had experienced how powerful Elder Lu was. Yi Chun couldn't possibly be a match for him. You want to leave? Not so easy. Die. The old man in black robes had a hideous look on his face as he threw a palm attack towards Yi Chun. A huge black palm swooshed across the air, letting out a shrill, heart-wrenching sound. Clang! Yi Chun unsheathed the dragon's spring sword and waved it casually. Chapter 174. The bright crystal-like sword Qi sliced through the air, sliced open the black palm print, and sliced towards the old man's neck. Not good. This sword Qi is very powerful. The old man's expression changed drastically. He hurriedly took out a shield from his storage ring and placed it in front of him. Clang! A huge crack appeared on the half-foot-thick shield, and the bright sparks shot out 3 to 4 meters away like fireworks. The members of the Lin family were dumbfounded. A casual sword Qi had forced the powerful Elder Lu to use his shield to block it. Furthermore, the shield was made of steel that had been tempered 100 times and was half a foot thick. Yet the sword Qi had cut 4 inches deep into the shield, nearly splitting it into 2. Seeing Yi Chun waving his sword again, the old man hurriedly dropped the broken shield in his hand and jumped towards Lin Qingmei, who was the closest to him. He wanted to use her as a shield so that Yi Chun wouldn't be able to hurt her. Lin Qingmei was not powerful enough. She only saw a blur in front of her eyes, and the old man had already arrived in front of her. His withered hand reached towards her neck. Although the old man was fast, Yi Chun was even faster. He appeared right next to Lin Qingmei, leaving only a shadow behind him. The light blue sword light shone like a thunderbolt. The next moment, the old man was blown away and his body was cut in half in the air. Elder Lu is dead. The leader of the Huang family, who had been smiling a moment ago, was now terrified. Swish! Yi Chun waved his left hand, and the storage ring on the old man's finger fell off and was sucked over. Without even looking at it, Yi Chun put it into his own storage ring. Then, he turned his head and looked at the leader of the Huang family. The leader of the Huang family's face had turned pale. He forced a smile and said, "My family will leave right now. I promise, we will never cause any trouble to the Lin family again." As for Elder Lu, he deserved it. During the half a month that he stayed in the Huang family, he had raped countless servant girls. Yichen didn't say anything. After all, this matter had nothing to do with him. If he slaughtered the Huang family's people, others would think that he was a bloodthirsty person. Of course, if Lin Taimu wanted to eradicate the Huang family, Yichen wouldn't mind helping him by killing a few experts of the Huang family. Obviously, Lin Taimu didn't want to do that. He yelled, "Huang Jian, my Lin family and your Huang family have never interfered in each other's business, and we have no intention of competing with you for the Black Rock City's business. Now get lost. If you dare to bully us again in the future, I, Lin Taimu, will never forgive you." Yes. Huang Jian's only thought now was to leave the Lin family. As for the future, he would think about it later. He was really afraid that Yi Chun would kill him in passing. After the people of the Huang family left, Yi Chun slightly shook his head. Lin Taimu was still not ruthless enough. Those who wanted to achieve great things had to be ruthless. They would kill those who deserved to be killed and never let go of any opportunity. However, everyone had their own ambitions. Not everyone wanted to achieve great things. Perhaps Lin Taimu only wanted to live a peaceful life in the Black Rock City. Furthermore, although Lin Taimu was injured, he was still much stronger than Huang Jian. Once he fully recovered, the Huang family wouldn't dare to bully them again in a short period of time. Little brother, thank you so much. I, Lin Taimu, will never be able to thank you enough. Lin Taimu cupped his hands towards Yi Chun. Not only had Lin Taimu saved his daughter's life, he had also helped the Lin family kill their biggest enemy, the black-clothed old man. Yi Chun said, "Don't mention it." It was almost evening. Lin Taimu had ordered people to prepare a sumptuous banquet for Yi Chun. During the banquet, Lin Qingmei had drunk a lot of wine. Her cheeks were flushed, and her gaze fell on Yi Chun from time to time. As for that young man named Lu Zhengxian, he looked sad. "Zhengxian, don't worry. He doesn't belong to the same world as us. He will leave sooner or later." Lu Jingde sat beside Lu Zhengxian and comforted him. Lu Zhengxian nodded bitterly. He was now a late condensing reality realm martial artist. As long as he worked hard, he could easily become a clasping yuan realm martial artist. However, compared to Yi Chun, he was still far behind. Fortunately, he knew that the outside world was huge and there were countless geniuses out there. Not everyone could compete with them. All he wanted to do was to become a powerful martial artist in the Black Rock City. The next day, early in the morning, Yi Chun bid farewell to the Lin family members, then left the Black Rock City. In a small forest, a bonfire was flickering. I have reached the 7th level of the mysterious great art. The quality of my Zhen Qi has increased by 30%, and the total amount of my Zhen Qi has also increased by 10%. Sitting beside the bonfire with his legs crossed, Yi Chun threw a punch towards a gigantic tree in the distance. Crack! The tree was snapped in half, and the top half was sent flying dozens of meters away. It had been 3 days since Yi Chun left the Black Rock City. During this time, Yi Chun would spend 4 to 6 hours training the mysterious great art every day. Tonight, he had finally made a breakthrough. Oh, right, I haven't checked the old man's storage ring yet. Since he had some free time, Yi Chun took out the old man's storage ring. After removing the remaining Zhen Qi from the old man's body, Yi Chun saw the space inside the ring. Although the old man was a peak-level mid-clasping yuan realm martial artist, he did not have a lot of money. He only had around 1,000 low-rank soul stones and 500,000 gold. However, there were a lot of strange things in the ring. There were stones that emitted black qi, skulls made of beautiful jade, and a broken map. Skipping over the first few items, Yi-chun took out the broken map. Yi-chun opened the map and found that it was only the size of a palm. It was grayish-yellow in color, and there were routes, rivers, mountains, and woods drawn on it with special pigments. On the edge of the map, there was a red dot, which was very eye-catching. I can't tell where the mountains and the woods are, but this river is obviously the Wild Goose Falling River. The Wild Goose Falling River is one of the 3 largest rivers in the South Shore region. The river I just passed through is only a small part of it. The end of this river is in the north of the Gray Mystery Nation, and that's where the red dot is. I wonder what this red dot represents? Yi-chun was lost in his thoughts. He thought that it was just an ordinary map fragment, but now he realized that it might not be the case. After all, the animal skin that the map was made of looked quite ancient. I'm here to train myself, so it doesn't matter where I go. I might be able to find something. However, this Gray Mystery Nation is not one of the 9 nations, and it's over 500,000 miles away from the Thousand Silk Nation. It will take me a long time to get to the red dot. Waking up from his thoughts, Yi-chun made up his mind to go to the red dot. 3 days later, Yi-chun arrived at the bank of the Wild Goose Falling River again. If the Wild Goose Falling River between the Windy Nation and the Thousand Silk Nation was the downstream part, then the Wild Goose Falling River here belonged to the upper part. On the bank of the Wild Goose Falling River was a prosperous port city called the Riverside City, which had a population of over 5 million. Huge ships were docked at the port, transporting goods to the shore. Young warrior, the ocean beast is about to leave. Please wait for it. Someone came to report to Yi-chun from the shore. Yi-chun nodded and responded, all right. The ocean beast was a huge, shuttle-shaped ship, over 100 meters long and 20 meters wide. It was entirely made from the top-grade iron-heavy wood, and even ordinary clasping yuan realm martial artists might not be able to leave a dent on it. The ocean beast was extremely sturdy and reliable, and was one of the biggest guarantees for passing through the Wild Goose Falling River. But of course, with the current technology of the Riverside City, such a huge ship couldn't be built yet. This ship was custom-made from the Black Dragon Empire, one of the 3 largest empires in the South Shore region. No one knew how much gold it cost. At least, with the current wealth of Yi-chun, he couldn't even afford 1% of this ship. There weren't too many people on the ship, only around 30 to 40 people. Half of them were rich people, 2/3 were nobles, and the rest were martial artists. The Zhen-chi vibration released from these 7 to 8 martial artists was extremely strong, and they were all clasping yuan realm martial artists. One of them was even a late clasping yuan realm martial artist. When he blinked his eyes, a sharp light could be seen, which was as sharp as a knife. Seeing that Yi-chun was so young, these people all had different looks on their faces. A big-bellied rich man laughed out loud and said, young man, did you steal money from your family and prepare to leave your family? But your family is quite rich. We have to pay 100,000 taels of gold to board this ship. Ordinary people can't afford it. Those martial artists silently cursed him for being an idiot. Although Yi-chun's Zhen-chi vibration was slightly weaker than theirs, he was clearly a clasping yuan realm martial artist. How could a clasping yuan realm martial artist be so poor? It was absolutely impossible for him to steal money from his family to leave his family. Yi-chun gave a faint smile, but didn't say anything. All right, people, the ocean beast is about to depart. I hope you can behave yourselves on the way, and don't cause us any trouble. The cabin door was opened, and a middle-aged man walked in with 2 of his subordinates and said coldly, what are you talking about? Who dares to cause trouble on the ocean beast? They must be tired of living. Indeed, the ocean beast belongs to the South Chamber of Commerce. The South Chamber of Commerce is one of the 2 largest chambers of commerce in the South Shore region. They have countless powerful martial artists and are even more powerful than rank 7 institutions. Hearing these people's discussions, Yi-chun slightly knitted his eyebrows. The sense of power released from this middle-aged man was no weaker than that of the patriarch of the South Chamber of Commerce. Obviously, he was a peak-level late clasping yuan realm martial artist, and the 2 subordinates behind him were also mid-clasping yuan realm martial artists. Added with the other powerful martial artists of the South Chamber of Commerce, the South Chamber of Commerce was more than powerful. Clatter! A noise came from below the deck. The ship was about to depart. In the Huang family in the Black Rock City. You said that old Lu was killed, but where's the killer? Two young men were looking down at the Huang family's leader. The one on the left was wearing a black robe and had a gloomy face, while the other one was wearing a cyan robe and had a cold look. The Jinshi vibrations released from their bodies were even more powerful than Yi Chen's. They were at least peak level early clasping Yuan realm martial artists. The Huang family's leader wiped the sweat off his forehead and said, I don't know. He left the next day. Why don't you go ask the Lin family's people? They are quite close to that kid. Bang! The young man in cyan robe gave the Huang family's leader a heavy kick, making him vomit blood, then sneered and said, You want to use me as a weapon? You don't deserve it. After leaving the Huang family, the young man in black robe said, That kid is only 16 or 17 years old, but he has the power to defeat old Lu, who is at the peak level mid-clasping Yuan realm. It seems that we can't underestimate him. The young man in cyan robe sneered and said, Both of us are ranked in the top 45 in the Hidden Dragon ranking. That old Lu is nothing but a piece of cake for us. What should we do now? Don't worry, I've seen that map in a stall, but I didn't pay much attention to it. When I got back, old Lu had already bought it. Fortunately, I've memorized the location of the red dot. It's roughly at the end of the Wild Goose Falling River. As for the specific location, we'll know when we get there. That's great. If nothing goes wrong, the location of the red dot must be a historical site. If we can find 1 or 2 high-level martial arts, we'll have more hope for the Hidden Dragon ranking competition the year after next. Chapter 175. The speed of the ocean beast was unbelievably fast. Within only 1 day and 1 night, it had already left River City and appeared over 10,000 miles away. This kind of speed was almost twice as fast as that of the half-spirit horse, the ghost-eyed jade lion, as fast as a bolt of lightning. Only a large river like the Wild Goose Falling River could allow the ocean beast to move so fast. If it were a small river, the ocean beast would have been destroyed long ago. Perhaps the ocean beast was afraid that the strong wind might blow the passengers away if the ocean beast moved too fast. Therefore, the ocean beast was in the shape of a shuttle. 2 arc-shaped planks extended from the front of the ship, covering a small half of the ship's head. The strong wind that came from the front of the ship was pushed away along the planks and couldn't reach the deck. Creak! Pushing the cabin door open, Yi Chun saw the sharp bow of the ship cut a tornado in half, then swiftly swooshed through it. Yi Chun was secretly shocked by the power of the tornado. The ocean beast is indeed an invention of the puppet school. Such a small ship has so many incredible things. Beside Yi Chun, the middle-aged man with a curly beard leaned against the cabin wall and praised. Is this ship also an invention of the puppet school? Asked Yi Chun confusedly. Speaking of which, he had seen many inventions of the puppet school, such as wooden puppets and crow puppets. Even he, who was a soul traveler, couldn't help but sigh with admiration. The royal family of the Black Dragon Empire once discovered the remains of a branch of the puppet school and mastered many inventions. The ocean beast is one of them. It's said that the South Chamber of Commerce bought 5 ocean beasts from the royal family of the Black Dragon Empire, each of which is worth over 500 million gold. Apart from that, the South Chamber of Commerce has to pay a huge amount of spirit stones to the royal family of the Black Dragon Empire every year, which is equivalent to renting the ships. The middle-aged man with a curly beard looked ordinary and was wearing a gray robe. He was about 40 or 50 years old. Yi Chun was shocked. They paid 500 million gold, and they still have to pay spirit stones every year? That's too harsh. The bearded middle-aged man grinned and said, After 10 years, we won't need to pay spirit stones anymore. Besides, just think about it. Every time this ocean beast carries a batch of customers, it can earn millions of gold. 10 batches of customers a year means tens of millions of gold, and this is only a small number. Not to mention, this ocean beast is not only used to carry people, but also to help the Chamber of Commerce transport goods. Otherwise, which ship can make a round trip of hundreds of thousands of miles? Yi Chun thought for a while and agreed with Yi Chun. The South Chamber of Commerce was a large chamber of commerce, And the most important thing for the South Chamber of Commerce was to do business. Now that they had ocean beasts, it would be much more convenient for them to transport goods, which would save them a lot of time and manpower. The two of them had only met for a day, and after chatting for a while, they fell silent. Standing next to the railing on the edge of the deck, Yi-chun could see that there was a thin layer of air 3 feet away from him. That was because the ship was traveling at such a high speed that the wind was compressed into a solid airflow. If a mortal realm warrior took a step forward, he or she would definitely be blown away by the thin layer of air. Even a condensing reality realm warrior would have to use all of his or her power to resist this airflow. Through the thin layer of air, Yi-chun could see the boundless river water. As one of the 3 largest rivers in the South Shore region, the Wild Goose Falling River was 650,000 miles long. Its main river ran through the Windy Nation, the Thousand Thread Nation, the Gray Mystery Nation, and the other 8 nations, and its tributaries were tens of thousands, even hundreds of thousands of tributaries. The Wild Goose Falling River was huge, but it was still the smallest of the 3 largest rivers in the South Shore region. The largest river was the Vermilion Bird River. The Vermilion Bird River not only ran through a big half of the South Shore region, but also extended to other regions, such as the Wavy Cloud region and the Misty Snow region. Even the Wild Goose Falling River could be counted as a tributary of the Vermilion Bird River. Therefore, it was not hard to imagine how vast the Vermilion Bird River was. It was countless times larger than the ocean in the world where Yi-chun came from. One day, when I'm able to travel through thousands of mountains and rivers and climb to the top of the martial artists, I wonder what it would be like. Facing the vast Wild Goose Falling River, Yi-chun's heart was filled with ambition. He clenched his fists tightly. "Everyone, it's time for dinner. Come on in." The cabin door was opened, and a member of the South Chamber of Commerce informed everyone on the deck. "All right, I'm almost hungry. The food on the Ocean Beast is quite good. I wonder what's going to be this time." Hearing everyone's words, Yi-chun grinned and followed them into the cabin. After dinner, the sky gradually darkened. Yi-chun went back to his own room. The Ocean Beast had 4 floors. The bottom floor was for storing goods. The second floor was for the members of the South Chamber of Commerce. And the third and fourth floors were for powerful martial artists and passengers of the South Chamber of Commerce. Yi-chun's room was the 5th one on the 4th floor, which was quite spacious, about 20 to 30 square meters. Sitting on his bed with his legs crossed, Yi-chun began his daily cultivation. Soon, 10 days had passed. The Ocean Beast had crossed a few countries and finally arrived in the territory of the Zhaoyang country. From here on, all kinds of powerful martial artists will show up frequently. You'd better be careful, don't provoke them. The captain of the Ocean Beast, who was a peak-level late clasping Yuan realm martial artist, walked onto the deck and reminded everyone. A noble young man, who was protected by 4 clasping Yuan realm martial artists, grinned and said, "Captain Su, you're a peak-level late clasping Yuan realm martial artist and one of the powerful martial artists of the South Chamber of Commerce. You must be very knowledgeable. Can you tell us about the abilities of powerful martial artists? We have nothing to do anyway." The middle-aged man glanced at the young man. This young man was the 3rd prince of the Thousand Thread country, named Zhao Kong. He liked to make friends with powerful martial artists from all over the world, and had many powerful martial artists on his side. But of course, in the eyes of the South Chamber of Commerce, those powerful martial artists were nothing special, and were only slightly famous in the Thousand Thread country. Since Prince Zhao is in such a good mood, I'd like to introduce myself. He often visited the Thousand Thread country, and it wouldn't be a bad idea to build a good relationship with Zhao Kong. After all, some things couldn't be easily solved by powerful forces. Otherwise, there wouldn't be so many complicated forces in the world. Hearing Zhao Kong, the others moved a bit closer to him, their faces filled with interest. There is nothing much to say about clasping Yuan realm martial artists. They can't be counted as powerful martial artists. Only those above the clasping Yuan realm can be considered as powerful. As we all know, when a clasping Yuan realm martial artist Zhen Qi has been refined into Zhen Yuan, he or she would be considered to have just stepped into the astral reaching realm and would have the power to fly into the sky. But very few people know about the other abilities of astral-reaching realm martial artists. Now, I will tell you about them. Clearing his throat, the middle-aged man continued. The first ability of astral-reaching realm warriors is the Zhen Yuan transformation ability. Different from Zhen Qi transformation, Zhen Yuan transformation is more powerful and sturdier. For example, if an astral-reaching realm warrior who uses a sword loses his sword, he can create a Zhen Yuan sword, which is only weaker than a low-rank great weapon, but way more powerful than normal weapons. Of course, it can also transform into other things, such as blades, spears, sticks, or anything else that can be imitated. I will not waste time on this. The second ability of an astral-reaching realm warrior is to create a Zhen Yuan fire by rubbing their Zhen Yuan together. With the Zhen Yuan fire, they can easily melt some hard metals and make them into weapons. Don't underestimate this ability. Although not many people know how to make great weapons, but after some rare metals are made into weapons, their hardness will be quite impressive, and they will be extremely hard to destroy. If you don't use it yourself, you can give it to your family, friends, or juniors. Besides this, the most important use of a Zhen Yuan fire is to burn Zhen Yuan and explode with the most powerful attack. However, the side effects are also quite severe. If it is light, your body will be wounded, and it will take a long time to recover. If it is too intense, you might burn yourself into ashes. So scary. Someone sucked in a cold breath. Yichen was a bit far away from the middle-aged man, but he had heard everything clearly. He thought to himself, burning Zhen Yuan? It seems to be similar to the burning fire sacrifice spell from the Sky Cloud Martial School. However, the burning fire sacrifice spell burns internal qi or Zhen Qi, while the Zhen Yuan fire burns Zhen Yuan. The difference between the two is too huge, and the power is also incomparable. In this case, the battles between astral-reaching realm martial artists should be more unpredictable. The slightly more powerful ones might not be able to win against the slightly weaker ones. Once the opponent decided to risk his life and burn his Zhen Yuan crazily, the result might be mutual destruction. No wonder astral-reaching realm martial artists can be called powerful ones. Not only is their power horrifying, but more importantly, they have too many ways to increase their power. Without an overwhelming advantage, they would not easily fight against each other. For example, Thunderfreer was not afraid of the great master of the Purple Sun Martial School, who was more powerful than him. Hearing this, Yichen's interest was aroused as well. The middle-aged man continued. Depending on the nature of the Zhen Yuan, the burning of Zhen Yuan can be different. For example, powerful martial artists who cultivate fire Zhen Yuan can burn their Zhen Yuan more easily, while powerful martial artists who cultivate water Zhen Yuan can burn their Zhen Yuan more easily. However, the side effect of burning Zhen Yuan is much smaller, and the recovery speed is also faster. Each has its own advantages, and there is no absolute advantage or disadvantage. The middle-aged man suddenly stopped talking and looked toward the back of the ocean beast. Seeing the strange look on the middle-aged man's face, the others also looked away. It's an astral-reaching realm martial artist. He has wings on his back. Yichen was the first one to notice the strange look on the middle-aged man's face. The ocean beast was moving at a high speed. It could move 70 to 80 meters within a blink of an eye. However, 10 miles away from the back of the ship, a silhouette was flying over at an even higher speed. Wherever the silhouette reached, tornadoes would be dispelled, and chaotic airflows would be pushed away. Because of the low altitude of the ocean beast, the waves on the Wild Goose Falling River were surging violently. A hundreds of meters long gully was created on the river, and the water was pushed to both sides. However, this wasn't enough to surprise the others. What surprised them was that the silhouette had a huge pair of black wings on his back. The wingspan of the wings was 20 to 30 meters long, and the pair of wings seemed to cover the entire sky. Swoosh! When the silhouette was less than a mile away from the ocean beast, the pair of black wings flapped and instantly appeared on the prow of the ship. The tremendous wind force generated by the silhouette made the ocean beast sway ceaselessly, as if it was going to fall over. Senior Crowman, I am Su Changjian, one of the deacons of the South Chamber of Commerce. The middle-aged man bowed, cupped his hands, and said politely. When the silhouette landed on the prow of the ship, the others finally saw the silhouette's face clearly. It was a scrawny middle-aged man, wearing a black robe. Behind his back, a pair of seemingly real and fake black wings folded up, then merged with his body. From the outside, not even a trace of the pair of wings could be seen. The scrawny middle-aged man laughed and said, "I've been flying for hundreds of thousands of miles. I'm a bit tired. Can you take a rest on the ocean beast of the South Chamber of Commerce?" "Senior, you must be joking. It's my honor." "Haha, that's great." Chapter 176. Now that there was an astral-reaching realm warrior on the ship, no one dared to say a word, as they were afraid that they might annoy him. Some of the more timid ones even hid in the cabin. Seeing this, the Black Crow Taoist smiled and said, "You guys talk, I won't eat you. The Black Crow Man is one of my most respected seniors. No need to be afraid." Su Changjian heard him and laughed as well. Hearing Su Changjian's words, everyone relaxed a little bit, but they still did not dare to talk too loudly. They just talked in a low voice. "This is the first time I've seen an astral-reaching realm warrior. I wonder where this Black Crow Man is from. Even Captain Su Changjian is so respectful to him. He must be extremely powerful. The chi coming from the Black Crow Man is way too powerful, as unpredictable as this wild goose falling river. Compared to him, the powerful warriors in my family are just ordinary people. Exactly, the higher the level of a warrior, the bigger the gap between each level. I heard that an astral-reaching realm warrior could kill a late clasping Yuan realm warrior with a flick of his finger." Ichin took a quick glance at the Black Crow Taoist, then turned his eyes back. He thought to himself, he is indeed very powerful. His Zhen Yuan vibration is as vast as a river, immeasurably deep. What's different from clasping Yuan realm martial artists is that the Zhen Yuan vibration of astral-reaching realm martial artists spreads out in the form of a whirlpool, which gives people a feeling that they can crush a diamond. However, comparing the two, the Black Crow Taoist is at least 30% more powerful than the Thunder Freer. Living in the Windy Nation, how could I meet so many powerful warriors? First it was Thunder Freer, now it's the Black Crow Man. All of them are powerful warriors that most of the warriors can only look up to. Standing on the bow of the ship, the Black Crow Man did not move at all. He suddenly turned around and said to Su Changjian, "Do you have any wine? Give me a pot." "Sir, please wait here." Su Changjian entered the cabin and looked for the wine for the Black Crow Man. Soon, Su Changjian walked out. He smiled and threw the wine bottle to the Black Crow Man. "Sir, this is the famous pear blossom wine of our South Chamber of Commerce." Uncorking the bottle, the Black Crow Man poured the wine into his mouth without caring about anything else, then murmured, "Great wine, fragrant and mellow. I might need to buy hundreds of bottles from your South Chamber of Commerce in the future." "Sir, if you want to buy it yourself, our South Chamber of Commerce will definitely give you a discount." The ocean beast headed north for another 2,000 to 3,000 miles. Gradually, the wild goose falling river became narrower. Before, it was 400 to 500 miles wide, even 700 to 800 miles wide, but now it was only 100 to 200 miles wide. Standing on the deck of the ocean beast, one could already see numerous towering mountains and numerous port cities along the banks of the wild goose falling river. The Crow Taoist threw the empty bottle in his hand into the river, looked to the right, and laughed. "I haven't seen you for 10 years. Today, I can finally have a good fight." As if it was responding to the voice of the Crow Taoist, on the right side of the shore about 100 miles away, a mountain peak that was thousands of feet high suddenly released a towering fiery light. The fiery light was as red as the sun, and even the color of the nearby river had changed. It was a sea of sparkling orange. "Haha, I'm going." The Black Crow Taoist greeted Su Changjian, and a pair of huge black wings stretched out from his back. With a flap of the wings, his body soared into the sky and shot towards the direction of the fiery light. On the way, his body was surrounded by a black airflow that looked like a dark cloud. It was powerful and oppressive. "Senior, take care." Su Changjian's voice was heard. Ichin squinted his eyes. He saw a vague human figure standing in the middle of the fiery light. Seriously speaking, This human figure was not something that he could see. It was just that the aura of the opponent was way too powerful and was captured by Yi Qin's soul power, which automatically formed shadow. It was just like a blind man who had familiarized himself with a certain environment over a long period of time. Another astral reaching realm warrior. Yi Qin slowly let out a breath of hot air. Captain Su, are the wings of the Black Crow Taoist the Zhen Yuan that you mentioned? After the Black Crow Taoist had left, the pressure on the crowd had disappeared, so someone could not help but ask. Su Changjian laughed. The Zhen Yuan transformation is indeed one of the abilities of the astral reaching realm warriors, but unless they have no other choice, very few people would use it. If you think about it carefully, you will understand. With the power of a clasping Yuan realm warrior, all of them can transform their Zhen Qi. However, compared to a warrior who can transform his Zhen Qi using a martial skill, which one is more powerful? Of course, a warrior who can transform his Zhen Qi using a martial skill is more powerful. Directly transforming his Zhen Qi into a physical form is no different from a normal attack. It is just a bit more flashy. Indeed, it is the same for astral reaching realm warriors. The wings of the Black Crow Taoist are actually a martial art called the Great Black Crow Art. It is much more powerful than the normal Zhen Yuan transformation. Not only can it increase the speed, it can also increase the speed of the Zhen Yuan circulation. It is one of the most powerful martial arts of the Sky Flying Devil Martial School. The Sky Flying Devil Martial School? Is it the rank 6 martial school of the Black Dragon Empire? The Black Crow Taoist is a powerful warrior from the Sky Flying Devil Martial School. I see. None of them were stupid. With just a little reminder, they immediately knew about the background of the Black Crow Taoist priest. All of them were dumbfounded. In their eyes, a grade 6 martial institution was definitely a colossus. If a grade 9 to grade 7 martial institution was considered a big martial institution, then a grade 6 martial institution could be considered as a super martial institution. They could easily destroy a small country or a big martial institution. Boom! In everyone's sight, that mountain that had exploded with a fiery light suddenly shattered into pieces and collapsed. The shock wave turned into a solid substance, spreading out in all directions. The Black Crow Taoist is fighting against someone. Shattering a mountain with a single move, that's so powerful. Yi Qin was trying to simulate the fight with his soul power, but the fight between the Black Crow Taoist and that person was way too fast. Within a single moment, hundreds of moves had already been launched, and Yi Qin didn't have enough time to react. If he tried to simulate the fight by force, he would only end up with nothing but chaos. The ocean beast didn't slow down at all. Within half an hour, it had already moved over 500 miles, leaving the shattered mountain far behind, until the ocean beast couldn't see anything anymore. 10 days later, the Wild Goose Falling River narrowed again, from over 100 miles to 50 miles. Early morning, Yi Qin pushed open the cabin door, walked out, and took a deep breath of fresh air. After 20 days of hard training, my great mystery art has broken into the 8th level. The quality of my Zhen Qi has already surpassed the Zhen Qi cultivated with low-rank Earth Realm martial arts, but the quantity is still a bit lower. Yi Qin hadn't practiced any low-rank Earth Realm martial arts, but he had seen some early clasping Yuan realm martial artists who had practiced low-rank Earth Realm martial arts. Comparing them with the 8th level of the Great Mystery Art, Yi Qin could easily figure out how powerful the 8th level of the Great Mystery Art was. Gazing into the distance, Ji Hao saw 2 straight canyons faintly visible. In the afternoon, people went to the deck to sunbathe. Su Changjian pointed at the front and said, "About 300 to 400 miles away, we'll see the most famous natural moat gorge on the Wild Goose Falling River." Natural moat gorge, the one that was split into 2 by someone? The bearded middle-aged man couldn't help but change his expression. Split into 2 by someone? Yi Qin was shocked. From 300 to 400 miles away, he could already tell that the natural moat gorge was enormous and tall, at least 10 times larger than the windy mountain where the Sky Cloud Martial School was located. Who was able to split it into 2? That kind of power was way too terrifying. Su Changjian said, 500 years ago, the natural moat gorge wasn't a gorge, nor was it called the natural moat gorge. Instead, it was called the Sky Pillar Mountain, standing on the bank of the Wild Goose Falling River. It was 18,000 meters high and occupied thousands of miles in radius. One day, two life and death realm warriors were battling there. One of them, who was called the Battle King, threw out a sword attack and directly cut the Sky Pillar Mountain in half. Half of the mountain was forcibly moved to the center of the Wild Goose Falling River, forming a huge valley that was more than 10 kilometers wide. It also created a new branch, which is the current natural Moat Valley Waterway, which is thousands of miles long. A fight between two life and death realm martial artists, and the Battle King split the Sky Pillar Mountain into two with a single sword move. Yi Chen gasped in shock. As the ocean beast approached, people finally saw the natural moat gorge. This gorge was 17,000 to 18,000 meters high and was divided into two parts. The periphery of both parts of the gorge was steep, like the silhouettes of mountains, while the inside part of the gorge was perfectly straight. As Su Changjian said, the two parts of the gorge were cut into two by someone with a sword, thus forming a perfectly straight inner part of the gorge. The height of the two parts of the gorge was equal, and the inner part of the gorge was perfectly straight. We can't go into the natural moat gorge. Let's go through the main road on the side. Every time they passed by this place, Su Changjian would remind the members of the Chamber of Commerce, and this time was no exception. Don't worry, Deacon, we don't want to die yet. The member of the Chamber of Commerce, who was controlling the direction of the ocean beast, smiled. This time, Yi Chen couldn't help but ask, "What's so special about this gorge? Why can't we go through it?" Su Changjian rubbed his own chin and responded, "You'll know soon." The long waterway flashed across, and two waterways appeared in front of the ocean beast. One led to the natural moat gorge, while the other led to the main road of the Wild Goose Falling River. The ocean beasts were already very, very close to the natural moat gorge. Compared to the natural moat gorge, the ocean beasts were even smaller than ants. The strong contrast between the ocean beasts and the natural moat gorge made all the people on the ship fall into a trance and feel a subtle fear. Buzz! All of a sudden, without any reason, a terrifyingly sharp sense of power spread over from the natural moat gorge and shrouded the ocean beast. Everyone's faces turned pale, and they couldn't help but take a few steps back. Puff! Unexpectedly, Yi Chen was even weaker than those rich people who only knew a little bit about martial arts. He opened his mouth and let out a mouthful of blood, which splashed on the deck. Su Changjian glanced at Yi Chen in surprise. Yi Chen was an early, clasping Yuan realm martial artist, but why couldn't he withstand the sense of power released from the natural moat gorge? This had never happened before, not to mention that this place was still a short distance away from the natural moat gorge, so the sense of power released from the natural moat gorge wasn't that great. After being surprised for a while, Jihao stopped worrying about it and said, "The reason why we can't go through the natural moat gorge is that back then, when the Battle King split the Sky Pillar Mountain open, the remaining sword intent still lingered in the natural moat gorge for 500 years. If we go into the natural moat gorge rashly, our souls would definitely be crushed by that terrifying sword intent, and we would be dead for sure." It's said that some astral-reaching realm martial artists have gone into the natural moat gorge, but since then, no one has ever seen them, and they are most likely dead. Chapter 177. The sword intent that hasn't dissipated for 500 years. Just now, when the fierce aura spread out, Yi Chen immediately knew that it was the sword intent. After all, he had almost reached the entry level of the sword intent, so he knew more about it than the others. Because of this, when the two sword intents confronted each other, Yi Chen's sword intent was suddenly shattered, causing him to spurt out a mouthful of blood. Hearing Su Changjian say that this was the remaining sword intent of the Battle King from 500 years ago, Yi Chen couldn't help but be shocked. After 500 years, this sword intent hadn't dissipated yet, which meant that it was definitely not only the entry-level sword intent, but something even higher than the entry-level sword intent. As for what kind of sword intent surpassed the entry-level sword intent, Yi Chen didn't know. Life and death realm warriors are indeed powerful. If the sword intent of the natural moat gorge was at its peak, who could possibly block it? Perhaps only life and death realm warriors could. Wiping the blood from the corner of his mouth, Yi Chan sighed slightly. He didn't know what to feel. A strange look appeared on Yi Chen's face. The broken sword, which had been staying quietly in the storage ring, suddenly started shaking slightly, as if something was attracting it. Ding! Dang! Dang! The broken sword was divided into two parts. One was the upper part, and the other was the hilt and the lower part of the sword. Now, the two parts, which were originally one, were rushing up at an extremely high speed, bumping against the space wall of the storage ring and letting out clear metal clangs. Is it? Yi Chen thought of a possibility. The broken sword might be the Battle King's sword, or it might have something to do with the natural moat gorge. Back in the Northwest auction, he remembered that the auctioneer had said that this broken sword had a history of 500 years, and 500 years ago, the Battle King had fought against a life and death realm warrior. This is unbelievable. This broken sword is probably the Battle King's sword, and now it's being summoned by the sword intent, trying to rush out of the storage ring. Yi Chen wasn't worried that the broken sword would run away. The space wall of the storage ring was very solid, and a broken sword which had already lost its spirit couldn't possibly break through the space wall unless it had the power to break the space. The ocean beast flew past the natural moat gorge. When it was the closest to the natural moat gorge, the frequency of the broken sword clashing against the space wall abruptly increased. Within a single moment, it had clashed against the space wall for at least tens of hundreds of times, letting out waves of raging fire sparks that even melted some low-grade spirit stones that were standing close to it. However, this was only temporary. As the ocean beast moved further away from the natural moat gorge, the frequency of the broken sword's attacks gradually decreased and eventually quieted down completely, lying quietly in the storage ring. Taking a deep breath, Yi Chan thought to himself, I don't have the strength to enter the natural moat gorge right now. Once I'm strong enough, I might be able to go in and take a look. I'll see if the broken sword is really the warlord's sword. Also, the only broken part of the sword might be in there. The final destination of the ocean beast was the Three River City, the largest port city in the spirit-reaching country. Sanjiang City Port. There were people coming and going at the pier, and there were all kinds of ships docked at the riverside. There were cargo ships, passenger ships, and even warships. There were no less than 100 of them, densely packed together. People, the Three River City, is one of the branches of the South Chamber of Commerce. This is the final destination. Please get off the ship. The ocean beast docked at the pier, and Su Changjian stood on the deck and said to the crowd, I'm going to the Elephant Mountain Nation. It seems that I'll have to take a ship. I'm going to the Gray Mystery Nation, but it's a bit far. I'll rest in the Three River City for a couple of days first. Only a few of them had agreed to go to the spirit-reaching city at the beginning. The others only boarded the ship because the ocean beast was fast. Otherwise, they would have taken other routes, which would have been much shorter. After getting off the ship, Yi Chen didn't start his journey right away. There were still 200,000 to 300,000 miles to go from here to the Gray Mystery Nation, so he didn't have to rush. The Three River City was very prosperous, but also very crowded. Walking on the street, Yi Chen glanced over and saw a huge crowd of people everywhere. My dear guest, I'm sorry, our restaurant is full. Would you like to try other restaurants? My dear guest, our restaurant is full as well. Other restaurants might have some vacant rooms. I'm really sorry, my dear guest. To be honest with you, all the restaurants in the outer city of the Three River City are full every day. I'm afraid that only the inner city can have vacant rooms. After walking into 7 or 8 restaurants in a row, Yi Chen found that all of them were full. He couldn't help but smile bitterly. The population density of the Three River City was indeed amazing. But of course, from this, one could tell how prosperous the Three River City was. I'd better go to the inner city. Famous big cities usually had inner cities, such as Luo City, where the Yi family was located, the Happy City, where the Northwest Auction House was located, and the Gale City, which was located on the Great Devil Grassland. All of these cities had an inner city, and normally, only people with high social status or great wealth could live in the inner city. After paying the expensive entrance fee, Yichen walked into the inner city. Compared to the outer city, the streets in the inner city were wider, but the population density was much lower. At least, people didn't have to rub shoulders with each other. Yichen, it's you. A familiar voice came from behind him. Yichen turned around, saw the face of the man, then grinned and said, Lin Yu, long time no see. Why are you also in the Three River City? The man who had called Yi Chen's name was Lin Yu, the head disciple of the Dragon Tiger Mountain, a rank 7 institution in the Elephant Mountain Nation. Back in the Tomb of the Heaven Dream ancient region, he and Yi Chen and Lung Wuqing had fought against martial zombies together. Lin Yu laughed and said, Should I ask you? The Elephant Mountain Nation is not far from the Spirit-Speaking Nation, but your Windy Nation is quite far from here. I came out to gain some experience. Gain experience? Good idea. But the leader thinks that I'm not powerful enough and wants me to gain more experience. Lin Yu showed an envious look. Yichen smiled. He could understand the leader of the Dragon Tiger Mountain. He had spent a lot of effort to raise a hidden dragon-ranked martial artist, and he couldn't let him die before he matured. I'm planning to stay in the Three River City for a couple of days. What about you? I'm here for a party. Why don't you come as well? No matter what, you're the most powerful young martial artist among the 9 nations. You're qualified to join this party. Yichen was confused. What party? It's held by a hidden dragon-ranked martial artist from the Spirit-Speaking Nation. The invited guests are all hidden dragon-ranked martial artists from the few neighboring countries, and the Elephant Mountain Nation is right next to the Spirit-Speaking Nation. I think I'm not going. They didn't invite me. It's not appropriate. Why not? Usually, people come uninvited. I'm sure this time will be the same. Helplessly, Yichen had no choice but to accept the invitation. Outside a dazzling and magnificent restaurant, Lin Yu said, Let's go in. The party will be held in the yard behind the restaurant. Entering the restaurant, the two walked across the lobby and came to a large, luxurious yard behind the restaurant. The party would be held in the 3rd luxurious yard. Please come in. Outside the yard, a waiter was waiting for them. Lin Yu nodded, then walked straight in with Yichen. This large, luxurious yard belonged to the restaurant and was used to entertain distinguished guests. Every yard occupied an extremely large area, and the interior of the yard was quite unique, with fake mountains, green waters, pavilions, terraces, and other buildings. Walking into the colorful garden, Yichen slightly narrowed his eyes. On the broad, flat ground, there were only around 10 young people, both male and female. Without any surprise, all of these people were clasping Yuan realm martial artists. 2 of them were even mid-clasping Yuan realm martial artists. Strong Zhen Qi vibrations were rippling like water. Haha, Brother Lin Yu, you're here as well. The handsome young man who had been talking and laughing noticed Lin Yu, stood up and said with a smile, Hee, it seems that I'm late. Lin Yu cupped his hands and said to Yichen in a low voice, This is the host of this party. His name is Qi Xiaofeng, ranked 38th in the last hidden dragon ranking, and is now a mid-clasping Yuan realm martial artist, very powerful. Hearing Lin Yu, Yichen glanced at him. Qi Xiaofeng's body was well-proportioned, and he had restrained his Zhen Qi. His eyes didn't look as fierce as before. Instead, they were as gentle as a spring breeze. However, Yichen dared not to underestimate him. All the top 50 of the last hidden dragon ranking were early clasping Yuan realm martial artists, and now that 2 years had passed, it wouldn't be strange for him to become a mid-clasping Yuan realm martial artist. I was wondering who it was. It's Lin Yu. I haven't seen you for a long time. I guess you've improved a lot. But if you don't have any tricks up your sleeves, you might be eliminated in this hidden dragon ranking. The arrogant young man standing beside Qi Xiaofeng didn't stand up either. Instead, he threw a glance at Lin Yu and said. Lin Yu responded, Just so. How can I compare with you? Who's that kid standing beside you? I've never seen him before. Don't tell me you're treating this place like a tea party where anyone can come in. Lin Yu laughed and responded, I brought him here, of course, he's qualified. Oh, tell me. Qi Xiaofeng was a bit curious about Yichen as well. He believed that Lin Yu wouldn't bring an irrelevant person here. Lin Yu introduced Yi Chun to the crowd and said, "He's Yi Chun, the most powerful young martial artist in the Nine Nations, including our Elephant Mountain country. Even Yuan Hung Ing had suffered a great loss in his hands. I guess he's still recovering." Yuan Hung Ing had suffered a great loss in his hands? The crowd all fixed their eyes on Yi Chun. Qi Xiaofeng grinned and said, "Yuan Hung Ying's power is not to be underestimated. Since you've defeated him, you're indeed qualified to join this party. Come this way, please." Facing the crowd's gazes, Yi Chun showed no change in his expression. He found a seat and sat down, after which beautiful maids came over to pour him some tea or wine. "I was wondering how powerful you are, but you've only defeated Yuan Hung Ying. To be honest, you really don't have any powerful martial artists in the Nine Nations." Gao Yuan took a sip of the tea and said carelessly. Sitting beside Yi Chun, Lin Yu said, "That guy named Gao Yuan, although he's quite arrogant, he's actually quite powerful. He was ranked 46th in the last Hidden Dragon ranking competition, and is now a peak-level early clasping Yuan realm martial artist. He's much more powerful than Mo Wuxue and Yuan Hung Ying, and I heard that he's been through quite a lot of adventures and has mastered a powerful martial art." Lin Yu had brought Yi Chun here for some other reason. For example, he wanted to let the crowd know that there were still some powerful young martial artists in the Nine Nations. Ladies and gentlemen, Murong Qinsheng is late. At this moment, a silvery voice came from outside the backyard. Soon, a young woman in a purple dress walked in. She was about 20 years old, had a slim and graceful body, and her face was covered with a thin veil. Although no one could see her real face, judging from her beautiful face, she must be a peerless beauty. A gentle breeze blew across, and a natural, orchid-like fragrance drifted over, which was even more intoxicating than the aroma of flowers in the backyard. Chapter 178. A peak-level, mid-clasping Yuan, realm martial artist? Yi Chun's pupils suddenly shrunk. This young girl, who was wearing a thin veil over her face, was a peak-level, mid-clasping Yuan realm martial artist. Under Yi Chun's soul power, the Zhenqi vibration released from her body was like a raging river, surging violently. Lin Yu paused for a second, then slowly turned his head around and said to Yi Chun in a low voice, "Murong Qinsheng, the second disciple of the Sky Flying Devil Martial School, a rank 6 institution in the Black Dragon Empire. She was ranked 27th in the last Hidden Dragon ranking. It said that she's as powerful as the top 10 of the Hidden Dragon ranking." The Sky Flying Devil Martial School? Yi Chun thought to himself, what a coincidence. Back in the Wild Goose Falling River, he had met the Black Crow Taoist, an elder of the Sky Flying Devil Martial School, and now, in the Three River City, he had met the second disciple of the Sky Flying Devil Martial School, Murong Qinsheng. Lin Yu said, "The Black Dragon Empire is not too far away from the Spirit-speaking nation, but very few people would show respect to Qi Xiaofeng. This time, why did Murong Qinsheng come here? I don't understand. After all the top 30 Hidden Dragon ranking martial artists are very proud, and they wouldn't make friends with people who are ranked too low." The appearance of Murong Qinsheng had changed the atmosphere in the garden. All the young men tidied their clothes and sat up straight, trying to show the best side of themselves to Murong Qinsheng, while the few girls snorted coldly. They were quite unhappy. However, they had to admit that no matter if it was in terms of temperament or figure, they were all far inferior to Murong Qinsheng. As for appearance, everyone knew that Murong Qinsheng was one of the 2 most beautiful girls in the Black Dragon Empire, and even many princes of the Black Dragon Empire wanted to marry her. Qi Xiaofeng's eyes were burning with passion. He hurriedly walked up to Murong Qinsheng, smiled, and said, "Miss Murong, you're here. Please forgive me for not going out to greet you. Just call me Murong." Murong Qinsheng gave a sweet smile and responded, "All right, Murong, sit here." Qi Xiaofeng gestured with his right hand. Following Qi Xiaofeng's words, Murong Qinsheng sat down beside Qi Xiaofeng. She picked up the cup of tea that had just been served to her, took a sip, then glanced around with her pair of beautiful eyes. Seeing Yi Chun, who was sitting in the outer circle, she couldn't help but feel a bit surprised. She didn't remember this name being in the Hidden Dragon ranking. So he must be a rising star. There was nothing special about this gathering. It was just a place for everyone to exchange feelings or some of their own experiences. Of course, as the young elites of their respective countries, their achievements in martial arts and cultivation were undoubtedly the main theme of this gathering, which would never change. Brother Zhang, I heard that your divine windbreak has already reached the 9th stage. I wonder how powerful it is. I don't think he is weak. The wind god break is the ultimate technique of my wind riding sect. Its power is naturally not weak. Even Brother He's Vajra protection art may not be able to block it. Oh, since that's the case, let's exchange a few moves. Let's see if your divine wind break or my Vajra protection art is stronger. As you wish. While they were chatting, some of them couldn't help but invite each other to a duel. Qi Xiaofeng was well prepared for this. He cleared a large space for the two of them, then smiled and said, "The Hidden Dragon rank competition has not started yet. You two can stop here, just in case you hurt our friendship." "Don't worry, I won't hurt him. I'll be gentle as well." Both of them were ranked very close to each other in the Hidden Dragon ranking. Both of them had the intention to compete with each other. Therefore, both of them showed their sharpness in their tone. Neither of them would back down. Qi Xiaofeng let out a bitter smile and stepped back to stand beside Murong Qingcheng. Boom! On the open area, the two who had invited each other to a duel had already launched a move. The sturdy young man's entire body was wrapped up by a layer of golden shield. The shield didn't look like a simple airflow. Instead, it looked like a layer of golden water ripples, thick and solid, perfectly protecting his body. On the other side, the skinny young man's long hair fluttered in the air, while a cyan whirlwind condensed behind his back. The whirlwind was compressed into an oval shape, with a dark cyan color in the center. As the skinny young man launched a punch, a cyan whirlwind immediately appeared on his arm, fiercely attacking towards his opponent. Lin Yu introduced the two to Yi Chun. The one who launched the Vajra protection art is Zhao Gang. He was ranked 65th in the last Hidden Dragon ranking. The one who launched the Wind God Break is Cheng Feng. He was ranked 60th in the last Hidden Dragon ranking. Although their ranks are different, their strengths are almost the same. I wonder who will be more powerful. Yi Chen said, "Probably Zhao Gang." "Why?" Lin Yu showed a confused look. Yi Chen grinned and said, "Although Cheng Feng's attacks are fierce, like a thunderstorm, he won't be able to break Zhao Gang's Vajra protection art within a short period of time. While defending, Zhao Gang has already started to look for Cheng Feng's flaws. If I'm not wrong, once Cheng Feng's Zhen Qi stagnates, Zhao Gang will launch a full-power counterattack." Hearing Yi Chun, Lin Yu turned his eyes to the fighting area, but he still couldn't figure out what was going on. The fight between the two of them was way too fast. It was hard for other martial artists at the same level to analyze it. Even if they could analyze it, they wouldn't be able to do what Yi Chun had done and tell the whole story. Gao Yuan, who was standing not far away, laughed at Lin Yu and said, "Shameless boasting." Lin Yu didn't take Yi Chen's words seriously, but of course, he would defend his own friend. He said, "We're just talking about ourselves. What does it have to do with you? HM, everyone here is more powerful than you two. Brother Qi invited you here to give you a chance to see the world, to let you know that there's always someone better than you. Don't think that just because you're able to attend this gathering, you're powerful enough to compete with us." Yi Chen didn't get angry at all. He said blandly, "In terms of power, you're only average among all of us. You're not qualified to teach us a lesson." A cold beam of light flashed across Gao Yuan's eyes. "Among you 9 nations, the most powerful one is only ranked 54th in the Hidden Dragon ranking. If you think that you can beat them, you'll be able to dominate the younger generation. What a joke. Don't overestimate yourself." The few people standing around had always looked down on the other 9 nations, including the Wind Nation and the Elephant Mountain Nation. Hearing Gao Yuan's words, they all showed scornful looks. Where did this kid come from? Does he really think he's a big shot? In all the previous Hidden Dragon ranking competitions, the 9 nations have always been at the bottom. Last time, Imo Wushua showed up arrogantly, but he was still beaten by us. This time, another arrogant guy showed up. Lin Yu's face darkened. He said to Yi Chun in a low voice, "Yi Chun, Can Zhao Gang really win? That's about right. Yichen didn't take the other's words to heart. He dared to say that Zhao Gang would win because of his soul power. The argument between the two of them had already caught Qi Xiaofeng and Murong Qingqing's attention. Qi Xiaofeng shook his head and said, "This guy's too reckless." A strange look flashed across Murong Qingqing's eyes, but she didn't say anything. Boom! The golden light and cyan light clashed against each other, bringing up dazzling fire sparks. Zhao Gang, your turtle shell is indeed hard to break, but I'd like to see how you're going to block this attack of mine. Chang Feng's body darted up into the air. He spread his arms and threw a heavy kick. A cyan whirlwind appeared on his right leg, spinning madly and condensing into a cone-shaped cyan whirlwind under his foot, swiftly piercing toward Zhao Gang. Seeing this, Gao Yuan sneered. He thought that Zhao Gang would never be able to block this attack. Most of the others also thought the same. Yichen's expression remained unchanged, as if nothing had happened. Clang! Zhao Gang's golden shield twisted and was about to shatter. Suddenly, Zhao Gang raised his left arm and slapped heavily on Cheng Feng's foot. Cheng Feng leaned his body, laughed, and said, "That was just a prelude, great storm." Swish! 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 All of a sudden, tens of silhouettes surrounded Zhao Gang and launched attacks at him. Those sharp streams of air slowly broke his golden shield. Cheng Feng, you're too reckless. You lose. Zhao Gang's body remained motionless. All of a sudden, a silhouette flashed across the air. His gold-like palm pierced through the layers of silhouettes and landed on Cheng Feng's protective Jinqi. Bang! Cheng Feng thought that he had suppressed Zhao Gang, but he didn't expect that Zhao Gang was also looking for his flaws. At this moment, Cheng Feng had already used up all of his previous power and hadn't released any new power yet. Therefore, he couldn't help but move a little bit slower and didn't have enough time to dodge. In the next moment, his protective Jinqi was shattered, and he was sent flying backwards, blood gushing out of his mouth corners. Thanks for letting me win. Zhao Gang laughed and stepped back into the crowd. Many people didn't know how to react to this result, including Qi Xiaofeng. In their eyes, Chang Feng's overall power should be slightly higher than Zhao Gang's. Lin Yu glanced at Yi Chen in surprise. Yi Chen's power was exactly the same as what he had said. Shaking his head, Lin Yu felt great. He hurriedly turned his head to Gao Yuan and said sarcastically, "Ah, who said we were boasting just now? Brother Gao Yuan, isn't it?" "You." Gao Yuan's face darkened. Lin Yu stopped looking at Zhao Gang and murmured to himself, "Some people are so full of themselves, yet they still pretend to be so arrogant. Did this brat guess it? It must be he's only at the early, clasping Yuan realm. But, seeing them being so arrogant, I'm not happy at all. Who wants to go up and fight with them? Teach them a good lesson. No need, Brother Gao Yuan can't stand it anymore." While the crowd was talking, Gao Yuan took a step forward, pointed his finger at Lin Yu and Yi Chen, and said, "Bullshit. Which one of you dares to fight with me? Or, you can come at me together. Otherwise, people will say that I, Gao Yuan, am bullying you." Before Yi Chen said anything, Lin Yu walked up and said, "Come at me together? You really think too highly of yourself. I'll fight with you first." Yi Chen didn't move. Before the fight started, he couldn't tell how powerful the two of them were. Lin Yu might be able to win. Gao Yuan sneered and said, "If I can't beat you within 10 moves, I'll give up. I'd like to see how you're going to beat me within 10 moves." After the trip to the Heavenly Dream Ancient Region, Lin Yu had realized that he was still not powerful enough. Therefore, he had been practicing his martial arts in the Dragon Tiger Mountain. Otherwise, he wouldn't have come to this gathering and humiliated himself. On the open area, the two of them stood 20 meters away from each other. "Pop, Lin Yu now. I'll let you know the real gap between us." Gao Yuan took a deep breath and released a bright blue light from his body. Within the blue light, electric bolts were sparkling and jumping. Being licked by the electric bolts, the flat flagstone was instantly scorched black and cracked. Thunder Zhenqi. Yichen was slightly surprised. Chapter 179. Among all kinds of Jinqi, without a doubt, the Thunder Jinqi and the Fire Jinqi were relatively more powerful, The earth Jinshi and the gold Jinshi focused on defense, and the water Jinshi was the most powerful one. As for the other rare kinds of Jinshi, some were strong, some were weak. For example, the ice Jinshi was one of the most powerful ones. But of course, nothing was absolute. Jinshi with different attributes was only one of the factors in a martial artist's fighting power. It couldn't control the overall situation. What truly mattered was the martial artist's own abilities. Lin Yu, take this. Lightning bolts flashed across the air. The distance of 20 meters was completely ignored by Gao Yuan. He instantly appeared in front of Lin Yu and threw a punch that was wrapped in dazzling lightning bolts. What a fast speed! Lin Yu was slightly shocked. Cyan yellow earth waves burst out from his body and spread out, neutralizing Gao Yuan's fist power. Pop! Pop! Countless tiny lightning bolts burst out, swimming in the air. Do you think you can hold on for 10 moves just by defending? Gao Yuan sneered while his left fist, which was wrapped in even fiercer lightning bolts, smashed on the cyan yellow earth waves. Because of the high speed, a shrill sonic boom was generated. At this moment, Gao Yuan's attack speed had reached the speed of sound. Standing beside Murong Qingcheng, Qi Xiaofeng said, Lin Yu is in danger. Gao Yuan, supported by the Thunder Jinshi, is not only powerful, but also fast. Indeed, but I don't think Lin Yu will be defeated so easily. Murong Qingcheng said. The cyan yellow earth waves were penetrated layer by layer. Lin Yu finally launched his counterattack. Want to defeat me? 10 moves are far from enough. Back off. Lin Yu didn't back off. Instead, he moved forward and threw a punch. The fierce fist power instantly transformed into a 3 feet tall Zhenqi cauldron, clashing against Gao Yuan's fist. Boom! 2 different kinds of fist power clashed against each other. The impact force generated by the collision immediately cut off a thick layer of the ground. The aftershock even collapsed the walls of the courtyard, which were quite far away. Thunderlight rush. Gao Yuan and Lin Yu's silhouettes clashed against each other, then immediately separated. After all, Gao Yuan's cultivation was higher than Lin Yu's. His feet left deep marks on the ground, and soon he stopped his body from retreating. Next, his hands released a water tank-thick lightning bolt towards Lin Yu. Crack! The lightning bolt was as fast as a bolt of lightning, and only when it reached 3 steps away from Lin Yu did the ground crack, and an arc-shaped scorch mark appeared on the ground. Conquering the world. Gao Yuan's power was way beyond Lin Yu's expectation. At this moment, Lin Yu had already forgotten about everything else. He started circulating his Zhenqi at an extremely high speed, slightly spread his feet, and crossed his arms. His strong cyan yellow Zhenqi transformed into a 2-man-tall Zhenqi cauldron, shielding Lin Yu against the lightning bolts. Clang! Dazzling lightning and the sound of metal rubbing against each other erupted at the same time. Shock waves mixed with electric arcs, and sound waves raged wildly, sweeping toward the surrounding people. At this moment, it was not hard to tell who was more powerful. The weaker ones had no choice but to set up a thick layer of Zhenqi shield in front of their bodies to counteract the impact of the shock waves, while the more powerful ones either broke the shock waves with a single punch or activated their protective Zhenqi. The most powerful ones were Qi Xiaofeng, Murong Qingcheng, and another mid-clasping Yuan realm martial artist. Qi Xiaofeng's palm was as sharp as a blade, and as he swung it across the air, no matter how powerful the shock wave was, it was cut into 2 like a piece of paper and disappeared in the air. The other mid-clasping Yuan realm martial artist, whose name was unknown, straightened his palm and shielded himself. Once the shock wave touched his palm, it was like a bean that had been smashed by a huge millstone and was instantly crushed. As for Murong Qingcheng, who was the most powerful one among the crowd, she smiled, curled her long and slim finger, and flicked slightly. Pop! The shock wave spread in the opposite direction, as if this slight movement of her finger had changed the direction of the shock wave. Impressive! Although Yi Chan was looking at the others, he didn't slow down at all. He raised his right index and middle finger and swung across the air, easily cutting the shock wave apart. On the ground, Streams of blood oozed out from the corner of Lin Yu's mouth, and his clothes were slightly scorched. Gao Yuan laughed out loud and said, "It seems that I've overestimated you. You've been boasting about how powerful you are, but you can only take 3 of my moves. The winner hasn't been decided yet. It's too early to be happy. Take this." Lin Yu cast an unknown martial art, and a cyan yellow stream of Zhen Qi swooshed up from his body, seeming to be even stronger than before. After that, he let out a great roar, spread his arms, and launched an attack towards Gao Yuan. Rumble. A 10-meter tall, 20-meter wide, gigantic Zhen Qi cauldron descended from the sky and pressed down. Trying to suppress me? Gao Yuan's eyebrows twitched. His body suddenly became heavy, and all of his Zhen Qi had been compressed into his body, disabling him from moving. In the next moment, the ground under his feet couldn't bear the pressure of the cauldron anymore, and suddenly caved in for a meter. The inside of the ground was exactly the same as the outside of the cauldron. Roar! Gao Yuan let out a ferocious roar, along with which dazzling lightning bolts burst out from his body once again. A vivid and lifelike lightning fist swooshed up into the sky and heavily punched on the Zhen Qi cauldron. The Zhen Qi cauldron was indeed huge, but apparently it wasn't big enough to look like a real Zhen Qi cauldron. Being struck by the lightning fist, the cauldron instantly exploded. Puff! Lin Yu let out a mouthful of blood, and his face turned pale. "You've pushed me to this extent. You're not bad. Now it's time for you to lose." Standing in the crater, Gao Yuan threw a punch towards Lin Yu from a distance. Along with a terrifyingly great power, his lightning fist roared towards Lin Yu. This punch, Lin Yu can't take it. Without any hesitation, Yi Chen's body transformed into a shred of afterimage and darted in front of Lin Yu. He unsheathed the dragon spring sword and hacked on the lightning fist. Lightning bolts burst out, and Gao Yuan grinned viciously. This punch of his was powerful enough to shatter a small mountain, and even a peak-level mid-clasping Yuan realm martial artist wouldn't be able to take it. Puff! The lightning fist split in the middle, and Yi Chen was perfectly unharmed. He blocked it? Impossible. Gao Yuan's expression froze. He couldn't believe his own eyes. All the people who were watching the fight were also shocked. Gao Yuan's lightning fist was split in half. Is this real? I guess Gao Yuan didn't use all of his power. After all, this punch was launched towards Lin Yu. He must have held back 20 to 30% of his power. Turning around, Yi Chen said to Lin Yu, "I'll take care of this." Wiping the blood from the corner of his mouth, Lin Yu said in a serious tone, "You be careful. He's much more powerful than he was 2 years ago. He can almost rival a late-clasping Yuan realm martial artist now. I know what I'm doing." Waiting until Lin Yu stepped back in the crowd, Yi Chen fixed his eyes on Gao Yuan again. Gao Yuan leapt out of the crater, grinned, and said, "Not bad. You've managed to block 80% of my punch. You should be proud of yourself. So what if you've used all of your power? Just do it. I hope you can still be so stubborn later." Gao Yuan gave a long and resonant shout, along with which the lightning bolts around his body suddenly burst out, even more powerful than when he was fighting against Lin Yu. Obviously, he hadn't used all of his power before. Lin Yu wasn't worthy of him using all of his power at all. Just now, if Yi Chen hadn't cut that lightning fist open with a single sword move, he would have held back some of his power. But now, he didn't have to hold back anymore. He was going to knock Yi Chen down with a single punch and make him suffer even worse than Lin Yu. Gao Yuan took a step forward, and the ground cracked under his feet. His right arm was wrapped in lightning bolts, which made it look like a lightning arm, as it swung towards Yi Chen along with an incomparably fierce aura. One thunder, two flashes. Crack! The huge lightning fist suddenly exploded in the air and split into 2 smaller lightning fists, attacking towards Yi Chen from the left and the right, as fast as lightning. Not enough. Yi Chen's expression remained unchanged. His body also split into 2, instantly cutting the 2 lightning fists open. Shadow splitting? Just a small trick. Gao Yuan was a bit disappointed that he couldn't beat Yi Chen with 1 punch, but he soon forgot about it. He took a deep breath, and the lightning bolts around his body converged onto his skin, condensing into a blurry lightning armor. The lightning armor looked quite intimidating, which made him look like an ancient warrior, incomparably powerful. Gao Yuan has even condensed a lightning armor. It is said that once the lightning armor is condensed, the power of the thunder and lightning godly fist would be increased by 50%. Qi Xiaofeng was a bit surprised. Murong Qingchang said, since the last Hidden Dragon rank competition, everyone's power has increased by leaps and bounds. I think this year's Hidden Dragon rank competition will be even more intense. Of course, this year's Hidden Dragon rank competition is the most exciting occasion for the young generation of the South Shore region. It will be extremely hard to get a good ranking. While the two were talking, Gao Yuan yelled out coldly, "Thunder Strike!" Before the punch was fully launched, the ground around Gao Yuan's body had already cracked and collapsed, as if an invisible power was tearing them apart. After that, countless broken bricks floated up into the air, and endless lightning bolts sparkled in the air, filling up the entire space. In the next moment, a meteor-like lightning bolt darted out, leaving a tens of meters long fiery tail behind. The fiery tail was coiled with snake-like lightning bolts, letting out a series of crackling noises. But it was not over yet. Countless broken bricks and lightning bolts also darted out, seeming to carry the entire space towards Yichun. This punch is powerful enough to rival a late clasping Yuan realm martial artist. Gao Yuan has won. It's good for them to learn a lesson. Let them know that the outside world is huge, not something that their 9 nations can compete with. Although this punch hadn't reached its target yet, everyone was sure that Gao Yuan would win. Still not enough. Yichun's eyes were filled with coldness. His clothes fluttered in the air, even though there was no wind. He gripped the dragon's spring sword with both of his hands and swung it out. Although it seemed to be slow, it was actually fast and heavy. When he swung the dragon's spring sword, everyone had a vague feeling that there was an invisible power surging in the air, which made everything in the surroundings quiet down. It was so quiet that one could even hear the sound of a needle dropping, the sound of grass being blown by the wind, the sound of leaves rustling, and even the sound of one's own blood flowing. Puff! The broken bricks and lightning bolts were the first to be shattered. Under the power of this sword move, the invisible power had been activated, shattering everything in the air. Soon, an even more dazzling lightning bolt flashed across. It was a stream of sword light that was as clear as a clear spring. It had easily hacked onto the meteor-like lightning bolt. The lightning bolt was as fast as lightning and seemed to be able to pierce through everything. However, facing the stream of sword light, it was directly cut into two. It was hacked into two again. Someone murmured. Chapter 180. How is this possible? I have already trained my thunder and lightning godly fist art to the thunder armor level. The power of my fist has been increased by 50%. Even a late clasping Yuan realm warrior might not be able to take it head on. How did he manage to break it with only one sword attack? Was that sword intent? Thinking of the word sword intent, Gao Yuan was shocked. He looked at Yi Chun, who was covered in electric arcs, in disbelief. Yi Chun's body, which was not that tall, had been enlarged infinitely. An invisible sharp chi had torn the air apart and shattered the void. Swoosh! Among the bright electric arcs, Yi Chun walked out. His blue robe was clean and tidy, without a single speck of dust on it. Before those electric snakes could even get within 3 feet of him, they would be shattered by his protective Jin Chi, which contained a sharp chi and couldn't hurt him at all. I have taken 3 punches from you. Now, it is time for you to take 1 sword attack from me. A sharp light flashed in Yi Chen's eyes. 2 beams of sword chi shot out from nowhere, landing on Gao Yuan's body. In the next second, Gao Yuan sensed it immediately. His hair stood up and his scalp was numb. Isn't it just 1 sword attack? I would like to see how you're going to break my defense with 1 sword attack. Gao Yuan was very scared of Yi Chen's sword intent. Although he had not experienced the power of the sword intent in the last Hidden Dragon rank competition, he could still remember the power of the sword intent. However, it was not a competition right now, so he had enough time to set up his defense. 3 layers of thunder and lightning. Lowering his body, Gao Yuan shouted with a low voice. He put his hands together and separated them. After doing this 3 times, 3 layers of blue thunder and lightning defense screens appear in front of him, lined up neatly and stacked on top of each other. Looking from inside, the outside world suddenly became blurry. I did not expect that Gao Yuan would be forced to use all of his defenses. Once a sword artist has mastered the sword intent, his attacking power would double. Among the warriors at the same level, only a few would be able to compete with him. No wonder he did not take Gao Yuan seriously. But it should be impossible for him to break 3 layers of defense with 1 sword attack. Seeing that Yi Chun had mastered the sword intent, most of the people's faces turned serious. Reaching out her hand, Murong Qingcheng smoothed her hair that had been messed up by the wind and said with interest, "Entry level of sword intent. I don't think there are many people in the whole South Shore region who have reached this level, right?" Qi Xiaofeng paused for a second, then nodded and said, "In the last Hidden Dragon rank competition, there were 13 people who had mastered the sword intent, and 2 of them had reached the entry level of the sword intent. However, only 8 of them managed to make it to the top of the ranking list, as the other 5 were too weak and still immature in using the sword intent. This time, I'm afraid that they will make a comeback. There are over 100 billion people in the South River region, but only 13 people under the age of 24 managed to comprehend the sword intent. I never thought that one of the 9 nations, where Lin Yu is from, would be able to comprehend the entry-level sword intent. He is indeed not to be underestimated. Indeed, sword artists who have comprehended sword intent are extremely terrifying. They are able to maintain their battle power at its peak at all times. Any factor that is disadvantageous to the battle will be destroyed by the sword intent." Qi Xiaofeng took a deep breath and stared at Yi Chun with a pair of shining eyes. "You have to catch it." Once Gao Yuan was ready, Yi Chun took a step forward and swung the dragon spring sword horizontally from left to right, without even the slightest trace of power. Along with the sword move, the air rippled like water and was sliced open. Pop, pop, pop. The 3 layers of thunder and lightning defensive screens only managed to block Ji Hao's attack for a split second, after which the screen was penetrated by the sword chi. Gao Yuan, who was under the protection of the 3 layers of thunder and lightning, let out a mouthful of blood, and his thunder and lightning armor instantly shattered. Is this the power of the sword intent? Defense is nothing to him. Gao Yuan let out another mouthful of blood and looked dispirited. The back garden was deathly silent, and only the rustling of flowers and grasses could be heard from time to time. After quite a while, people started talking to each other. With only 1 sword move, Gao Yuan lost. This guy's incredibly powerful. If he could be a little bit more powerful, he would be one of the most powerful warriors in the Hidden Dragon rank competition. Standing in the crowd, Lin Yu was silently admiring Ji Hao. He thought to himself, "How long has it been? He has made such a great progress again. Thank you for letting me win." Cupping his hands, Yi Chun stepped back to Lin Yu's side. "Yi Chun," that was, Yi Chun said, initial success of the sword intent. Before, his sword intent had been infinitely close to the initial success. When he passed through the natural Mo Gorge, the remaining sword intent of the Battle King had not only shattered his sword intent, but it also brought him a slight bit of enlightenment. Added with the slight bit of enlightenment, he had finally broken through the shackles and reached the initial success of the sword intent. The initial success of the sword intent and the sword intent that was approaching the initial success seemed to be only 1 step away from the initial success. But the difference between the 2 was like the difference between a normal person and a disabled person. Just as I thought. Lin Yu nodded and sighed silently. Gao Yuan was defeated and didn't dare to provoke Yi Chun again. The others were slightly surprised, but then stopped talking about this. To them, winning or losing was way too normal. The younger generation had never been willing to submit to each other, but if one of them lost, there was nothing they could say. All they could do was to go back and practice hard, and try to defeat their opponent in the future to wash away the shame they had suffered today. Under such a fierce competition, they had been making amazing progress because they had to surpass their opponents over and over again. That kind of pressure was enough to stimulate their potentials bit by bit. Every time the younger generation reached their peak, the true spirit continent would become prosperous, and powerful warriors would emerge in great numbers. Morong, I didn't have the chance to fight against you in the last Hidden Dragon rank competition, but this time, how about we have a short fight? Except for Qi Xiaofeng and Murong Qingsheng. Another mid-clasping Yuan realm warrior couldn't wait any longer. He wanted to fight against Murong Qingsheng to see how powerful he was. Murong Qingsheng smiled and responded, "Please." The air was as thick as water. Murong Qingsheng's silhouette silently appeared in the middle of the field. At that moment, many people seemed to have stopped thinking. Force field. A trace of surprise flashed across Yi Chen's eyes. Lin Yu said in a low voice, "Murong Qingsheng has been cultivating one of the two most powerful martial arts of the Sky Flying Devil Martial School. The Sky Devil Great Art is a top-rank Earth Realm martial art, divided into 15 levels. Once you reach the 6th level, you'll be able to generate a Sky Devil Force Field, which allows you to control the air in the force field and increase your speed to the limit. Moreover, the Sky Devil Force Field will cancel out a part of the enemy's attack, or even all of it. Many people believe that she is as powerful as the top 10 of the Hidden Dragon rank. However, the one who challenged Murong Qingsheng is not an ordinary person either. His name is Wei Renjia. He has already attained the Blade Intent 2 years ago and is ranked 37th, even higher than Qi Xiaofeng. I wonder what level he has reached now. I've made the right decision to come here. I can actually watch a fight of such a high level." Finished speaking, Lin Yu felt his blood boiling. Top-rank Earth Realm Martial Art, Sky Devil Great Art, Blade Intent. Yi Chen slowly let out a long breath. The rank 6 Sky Flying Devil Martial School was indeed powerful. They even had a top-rank Earth Realm Martial Art, which was not something a rank 7 martial institution could compare with. In this case, there was a reason why rank 7 and above martial institutions were called super martial institutions, because their comprehensive power was way too powerful. As for that young man, named Wei Renjia, no wonder he wasn't affected by Murong Qingsheng's aura. It turned out that he had attained the Blade Intent. Those who had attained the Blade Intent and the Sword Intent had a strong will and wouldn't be easily affected by anything. But of course, once they were affected, the consequences would be extremely severe. In the best-case scenario, their Blade Intent and Sword Intent would be destroyed, and in the worst-case scenario, they would never be able to achieve anything in their entire lives. If your Sky Devil Great Art was still at the 6th level, you would probably be defeated by me, Wei Renjia." The young man, named Wei Renjia, laughed and walked towards the open area step by step. With every step he took, the Blade Intent released from his body would grow stronger. By the 7th step, the Blade Intent had swooshed up into the sky, slicing the surrounding air into pieces. "Brother Wei, you seem to be quite confident." Murong Qingsheng stood in the middle of the open area. The air around her was deathly still, without a single ripple. She wasn't affected by the Blade Intent at all. "If I don't have confidence, I will naturally lose some momentum. How can I, Wei Renjia, not have confidence in myself?" "Chin." Wei Renjia drew his blade out of the scabbard and attacked first. The sharp blade Qi, driven by the Blade Intent, was like a peerless dragon, slashing towards Murong Qingsheng, who was not far away. Before the blade Qi even reached her, the ground 3 meters around Murong Qingsheng instantly caved in, and the area within 3 meters was where her force field was located. "Break!" Murong Qingsheng took a step forward, her slender palm slapping onto the blade Qi. Buzz! The air twisted rapidly. That slender palm looked weak and powerless, but it contained an extremely terrifying force field, twisting the trajectory of the blade Qi. The blade Qi was twisted, and its power was instantly reduced by 30%. It was shattered by Murong Qingsheng's palm, disappearing into thin air. "Stormy waves!" Wei Renjia yelled, holding his blade with both hands and slashing down. Boom! The sound of crashing water was heard as an extremely thick, bright blade Qi broke through the water. It carried an extremely powerful poetic perspective as it sliced out violently, devouring everything in front of it. Yi-chan was secretly shocked by its power. Ranked 37th in the Hidden Dragon rank, he was indeed not a normal warrior. Sky Demon Power Field. Murong Qingsheng looked slightly more serious as she pushed both of her hands forward, creating an even more horrifying force field in front of her. She was trying to twist the tide and the blade chi into pieces, turning them all into ashes. Crack! The first thing to be destroyed was the luxurious building behind Murong Qingsheng. The building was split in the middle, creating a huge crack. Then, Wei Renjia's blade chi had also been shattered. When the blade chi was about 5 meters away from Murong Qingsheng, it had been twisted to its limit by the horrifying Sky Demon Power Field and shattered. The 7th level of the Sky Demon Great Art. Wei Renjia stared at Murong Qingsheng, but did not launch another attack. Being able to break half of my Sky Demon Power Field, your blade intent must have reached the entry level, right? Murong Qingsheng smiled lightly and asked back. Putting his long blade back into the scabbard, Wei Renjia shook his head. I lost. The Sky Demon Great Art is a top-rank Earth Realm martial art, which is extremely hard to train. Once it reaches the 7th level, its power will increase exponentially. With my current power, I still cannot break your 7th gravity field, so it is not a shame that I lost. The Sky Demon Great Art was indeed powerful, but it was not without its flaws, which was its slow training speed. Murong Qingsheng had already reached the peak level of the mid-clasping Yuan realm, but his Sky Demon Great Art was only at the 7th level. It would take a long time for him to reach the 8th level. On the other hand, Yi Chen's Great Mystery Art was not as powerful as the Sky Demon Great Art, but his training speed was many times faster. Once he reached the 9th or 10th level, his Great Mystery Art should not be any weaker than his Sky Demon Great Art's 7th level. Fortunately, his training speed had always been fast, so it should not be too far away. Yi Chen had seen all of this and was calculating in his mind. Chapter 181. As the fight between Murong Qingsheng and Wei Renjia came to an end, the others didn't want to be left behind and started fighting one after another, including Qi Xiaofeng. Qi Xiaofeng's weapon was a pair of special weapons, the Waning Moon Curved Wheel. With a single strike, his opponent, who was a peak-level early clasping Yuan realm martial artist, was sent flying away. An arc-shaped slash mark was left on the ground between the two of them, which was half a zhang deep and tens of meters long. Lin Yu couldn't help but say to Yi Chen, although Qi Xiaofeng always looks like a nice guy, he's actually quite cruel. Yi Chen nodded. Some people looked like sheep, but they were actually wolves. Once they were enraged, they could be even more terrifying than ordinary wolves. Putting the Waning Moon Curved Wheel back into his sleeve, Qi Xiaofeng glanced at the sky, then grinned and said, "Ladies and gentlemen, today's party is over. From now on, all the expenses will be on my tab. I believe I can still afford it. The Three River City's freshwater food is quite famous. I've been wanting to try it for a long time. Brother Qi, since you're so generous, I won't refuse. Hee, if you want to eat freshwater food, of course you have to go to the deck." Most of these people were young men who were full of vigor and vitality, and had already tasted the pleasure of fish and water. Going to the deck to eat freshwater food was just a convenience. What they really wanted was to enjoy the beautiful young women on the deck. But of course, with Murong Qingsheng and the other few young women here, they couldn't say it out loud. Leaving the dilapidated yard, the group of people separated. At night, the Three River City was brightly lit and was still as lively as before. In the bedroom of one of the guest rooms, Yi Chen was sitting on the spacious bed with his legs crossed and his eyes closed. He had been trying his best to cultivate his Zhen Qi, and the noise outside didn't affect him at all. In today's gathering, the power of Murong Qingsheng, Qi Xiaofeng, and Wei Renjia had given him a great pressure. Some of them had been practicing extremely powerful martial skills, and some of them had mastered powerful martial skills. Moreover, the sword intent, which had allowed him to defeat those who were at a higher level than him, wasn't the only thing that stood out. Wei Renjia had mastered the blade intent, which was as famous as the sword intent, and had also reached the initial level of the blade intent just like him. If he participated in the hidden dragon rank competitions with his current power, needless to say, he would not be able to make it into the top 40 and might not even make it into the top 50. After more than 2 years, who knew what kind of level those warriors who were lagging behind in the hidden dragon rank would have reached? Maybe some of them had just started to rise when they participated in the last hidden dragon rank competitions and did not have the time to build up their power. Now that 2 years had passed, their power must have improved by leaps and bounds, and they might even make it into the top 30 or even the top 10. Feeling a dull pain in his meridians, Yichin cut off his connection with the spirit stone and slowly opened his eyes. It's good to have some pressure, but I have to take it one bite at a time. I can't just eat until I become fat. After all, power cannot be rushed. Right now, I need to cultivate the great mystery art to the highest level first. On top of a tall building, 2 human silhouettes were standing. Under the moonlight, one could see that it was a man and a woman. The woman was wearing a purple dress, with a light veil covering her face. It was Murong Qinsheng, the second-ranked disciple of the Sky Flying Devil Martial School, and the man was Qi Xiaofeng. A gentle breeze blew across the light veil, covering Murong Qinsheng's face. She said blandly, "Brother Qi, you didn't invite me all the way here just for a small party, did you?" Qi Xiaofeng grinned and responded, "Of course not. Oh, I'm Murong Yuan, am all ears." Murong Qinsheng's face looked the same as ever. She abruptly reached out her hand and made a grabbing gesture. In the air nearby, a bat that was looking for food was twisted and shattered by an invisible force field. Qi Xiaofeng said, 3 months ago, I heard that someone had found a sky devil serpent scale in the 100,000 mountain range of the Gray Mystery Nation. A sky devil serpent scale? Is it true?" A strange light flashed across Murong Qinsheng's eyes as she stared at Qi Xiaofeng. Qi Xiaofeng's breath slightly quickened. Then he awkwardly shifted his line of sight and said with a smile, "It should be true. I bought this sky devil serpent scale for 100,000 gold and 500 low-ranked soul stones. I have it right now. You can check it out." A dim light flashed across Qi Xiaofeng's storage ring. Then a human head-sized black scale appeared in his hand. He took a deep breath, then handed the scale over to Murong Qinsheng. Taking over the scale, Murong Qinsheng activated her Sky Devil Jin Qi and injected it into the scale. Buzz! The air slightly rippled, and a layer of black light emerged on the scale's surface. It is indeed a Sky Devil Serpent scale. Only a Sky Devil Serpent scale can resonate with my Sky Devil Jin Qi. At first, Murong Qinsheng's face was filled with joy. Then she let out a bitter smile and said, "However, judging from the size of this scale, this Sky Devil Serpent should be in its growing stage, and its power should be no lower than level 7. Even if you and I join hands, we would not be able to withstand a single attack from it, not to mention getting the Sky Devil Flower." The reason why Murong Qinsheng cared so much about the Sky Devil Serpent was not because she wanted to gain something from it, but because of the Sky Devil Flower that it was guarding. According to the legend, the Sky Devil Flower was formed from the blood of an ancient Devil King and contained an extremely powerful demonic power. If she could get a leaf of the Sky Devil Flower, she would be able to reach the 8th or even the 9th level of the Sky Devil Great Art in a very short period of time. If she could get a whole Sky Devil Flower, she might even be able to reach the highest level of the Sky Devil Great Art. In the history of the Sky Devil Martial School, except for some powerful warriors who had died, no one had ever reached the highest level of the Sky Devil Great Art. Qi Xiaofeng grinned and said, "I invited you here, of course. I won't let you come here for nothing. Can you check if the scale is damaged?" Hearing Qi Xiaofeng, Murong Qinsheng lowered her head and looked at the edge of the scale. Sure enough, there was a crack on the edge of the scale. She had been too excited just now, so she didn't notice it. This Sky Devil Serpent is injured. Murong Qinsheng clearly knew that the Sky Devil Serpent had an extremely strong defensive power, and almost no other demonic beast of the same level could rival it. Therefore, it would not easily lose its scales. Also, unlike other snake-type demonic beasts, after a Sky Devil Serpent shed its skin, it would swallow the skin that it shed. Therefore, it was impossible for a Sky Devil Serpent to lose its scales. An injured sky devil serpent in its growing stage is not something that we can deal with, unless it has suffered a very serious internal injury and can't recover within a short period of time. Morong Qingsheng was very calm. That day, there was a thunderstorm in the 100,000 mountain range, and it was not far from where the sky devil serpent scale fell. I think there must be some demonic beasts or warriors trying to kill the sky devil serpent while it was going through the thunder trial. Right now, the sky devil serpent might not be still alive, and your sky devil Jinqi can sense the sky devil flower. As long as the distance is not too far, you should be able to find the sky devil flower. The reason why Qi Xiaofeng was trying so hard to help Morong Qingsheng was not for anything else, but to win her heart. Ever since the last Hidden Dragon rank competition, he had been fascinated by her beauty and couldn't control his heart. He believed that there were a lot of people like him. I will remember this favor. Although Morong Qingsheng vaguely knew what Qi Xiaofeng was thinking, and she didn't want to accept his favor, she still didn't want to give up the sky devil flower. When do you plan to leave? I'm not as powerful as you, but I can help you, Qi Xiaofeng said. In 3 days. I need to make some preparations. All right, see you in 3 days. After Qi Xiaofeng left, Morong Qingsheng turned around and looked down at the entire Three River City. She slightly sighed in her heart. Qi Xiaofeng had left a good impression on her, but it was just a good impression and nothing more. There would never be any emotional connection between the two of them, not to mention that she had been cultivating the great sky devil magic. Therefore, even if she met someone who admired her, she would never fall in love with him. But of course, once she did fall in love with him, it would be the kind of love that would never change until death. The air slightly twisted, and Morong Qingsheng's figure disappeared. The Three River City was very lively in the morning. All kinds of noises were mixed together and transmitted into the guest rooms of the restaurants. After washing up, Yi Chen pushed open the door and walked out of the room. The streets were crowded and bustling with activity. There are only 3 seats left for the passenger ship heading to the Gray Mystery Empire. Anyone who wants to take the seats, come to the number 23 pier as soon as possible. Time waits for no man. Yi Chen stopped and asked, "How fast is the passenger ship? How can the passenger ship of our South Chamber of Commerce be slow? It can travel 4,000 miles a day. We bought this ship from the Black Dragon Empire." Yi Chen was surprised, but soon shook his head. There was a branch of the South Chamber of Commerce in the Three River City, so it was reasonable that there would be a lot of ships. However, the speed of the passenger ship couldn't be as fast as that of the ocean beast. If the passenger ship could travel 4,000 miles a day, it would take 50 days to reach the Gray Mystery Empire, which was way too long. Forget it then. Yi Chen didn't plan to take the passenger ship, so he decided to walk there by himself. With his current cultivation, he could easily travel over 10,000 miles a day. After leaving the Three River City, Yi Chen flew along the edge of the Wild Goose Falling River. As he moved further and further away from the river, fewer and fewer people could be seen around him. At last, he couldn't even see any signs of human habitation. All he could see was the boundless river and the endless mountains. Boom! After punching a flying demon beast away, Yi Chen didn't slow down at all and disappeared into the mountains. Walking along the Wild Goose Falling River wasn't a shortcut. Instead, he needed to cross the mountains in the Spirit-Speaking Kingdom to reach the Gray Mystery Empire as soon as possible. Time flew like water. Half a month later, Yi Chen finally arrived at the Gray Mystery Empire. Opening another map of the Gray Mystery Empire, Yi Chen touched it with his finger and murmured, "The Gray Mystery Empire has a lot of mountain ranges. This should be the Ancient Path mountain range, and the Three-Horn mountain range is in front of me. After that, I'll have to cross a desert to reach the edge of the 100,000 mountain range. It's a pity that I don't have a detailed map of the 100,000 mountain range. After all, the 100,000 mountain range is too small to be marked on the map. I'll have to find them myself. All right, I'll go there first." Putting away the map, Yi Chen looked at the sky and flew out. The mountains in the Gray Mystery Empire were much more dangerous than the mountains in the Windy Nation. Therefore, Yi Chen didn't dare to run around recklessly and attract the attention of some powerful demon beasts. Therefore, it would take him a long time. However, No matter how careful he was, he wouldn't be able to take care of everything. During these 3 days, Yi Chun had run into 7 rank 6 demon beasts and 2 top rank 6 demon beasts. He could still fight against the former, and if he couldn't defeat them, he would just run away. However, the latter almost injured him, and he had to spend a lot of effort to get rid of them. There was even one time when he clearly saw a rank 7 demon beast. Fortunately, it was already quite far away from him and didn't notice him. Looking at the boundless golden desert in front of him, Yi Chun let out a long breath and thought, "Finally, I'm here. After this desert, I should be able to reach the 100,000 mountain range." Yi Chun didn't start his journey immediately. Instead, he found a shady place and took a short rest. He had been too tense during the past few days, and he was still a bit tired. The next morning, Yi Chun started his journey. Chapter 182. As far as the eye could see, everywhere was a dazzling golden desert. The surface of the desert was smooth like brocade and streamlined, rising and falling to form numerous hills of varying heights. Occasionally, there would be some low-level snake-type demon beasts that drilled out from the desert, twisting their wriggling bodies to pounce on their prey. Boom! When passing by a hill, Yi Chun's scalp went numb. His body shot up into the sky, leaving only an afterimage behind. The next second, the hill collapsed inwards and a huge black hole appeared. On the edge of the black hole, there were many sharp teeth. It was a gigantic, demonic beast, and the black hole was its mouth. If it weren't for Yi Chun's fast reaction, he would have already fallen into the beast's mouth and been chewed into minced meat. It's not safe to walk in the desert. This demonic beast had hidden itself so well, not even a trace of its aura was leaked out. Yi Chun was still in a state of shock. Down below, the demonic beast didn't catch any prey, but it didn't care. Its body continued to sink down, and soon it disappeared, leaving behind only a huge pit. This desert was not as big as the scorching ancient desert between the 9 nations. 3 days later, Yi Chun had crossed through the desert and arrived at the edge of the endless 100,000 mountain range. The 100,000 mountain range is one of the most dangerous places in the whole South River region. With my current power, it will be a bit difficult for me to go there. Fortunately, I've trained the great mystery art to the 9th level the day before yesterday, and the quality and quantity of my Zhenqi have greatly increased. Now, I should be able to fight against a mid-level rank 6 demonic beast. The 100,000 mountain range was said to have 100,000 mountains, but in fact, there were even more small mountains. There were millions of them, and no one knew how many millions of miles there were. 4/5 of the Gray Mystery Nation's territory was made up of the 100,000 mountain range. Since the ancient times, no one had been able to explore all of the 100,000 mountain range, and only a few people had been able to explore even 1/10 of it. This was because the 100,000 mountain range was way too big, and there were way too many mountains. Even if a martial institution went in, it would be useless. Taking a deep breath, Yi Chun entered the outer area of the 100,000 mountain range. When Yi Chun entered the 100,000 mountain range, 2 silhouettes appeared at the border of the Gray Mystery Nation, outside of the Ancient Path mountain range. One of them was black, and the other was green. They were the 2 young men from the Huang family in the Black Rock City. Stepping on a huge tree, the teenager in black said, "After going through the Ancient Path Mountains, the Triangle Mountains, and the Undercurrent Desert, it will be the 100,000 mountain range." Qin Hao, are we really going to enter the 100,000 mountain range? It is said that the 100,000 mountain range is one of the oldest, dangerous places in the whole South River region. There are countless rank 7 and rank 8 beasts there, and even rank 9 beasts. Even astral-reaching realm warriors would not dare to go in there openly. Risk and wealth have always been proportional. If you stop when you encounter danger and difficulties, how can you achieve great things? Not to mention that the location of the red is not in the center of the 100,000 mountains. It is only in the periphery. There won't be too many terrifying things there. The young man in green was expressionless. The black-clothed young man's brows eased up slightly, and then he asked, "The outer area of the Grand Myriad Mountains is still boundlessly vast. Where exactly is the location of that red dot?" in a mountain shaped like a goat's head, surrounded by a dense forest. Since we know the shape of the mountain, it will be easy. Let's go. Swoosh, swoosh. The two of them darted into the ancient Path mountain range. Qin Hao and Tian Chong have also come to the gray mystery nation. What a surprise. On a mountain not far away from them, a man and a woman appeared. The one talking was Qi Xiaofeng, whose face was full of smiles, and standing beside him was Murong Qinsheng, who was wearing a fluttering purple robe. Murong Qinsheng said, "I don't think their goal is the same as ours." "You're right, the sky devil flower is not very useful to them. They wouldn't take the risk to look for it." Qi Xiaofeng nodded. 3 days after Yi Chen left, the two of them set off. On their way, they accidentally found Qin Hao and Tian Chong, who were both ranked in the Hidden Dragon ranking. Both of them were ranked within the top 45, and Qin Hao's power was not any weaker than Qi Xiaofeng's. He was ranked 35 in the last Hidden Dragon ranking. Inside the 100,000 mountain range, no one below the astral reaching realm would dare to fly in the sky, not even peak-level late clasping Yuan realm warriors. And the astral reaching realm warriors would only dare to be this arrogant in the outer area. Once they got a little bit further in, they would still have to go down and run. After all, the sky was way too eye-catching. One could easily see it by raising one's head. It might not be dangerous for a while, but after a while, the chance of encountering danger would be 100%, and the chance of dying would be more than 80%. In other words, if anyone wanted to die, he or she could just fly in the Grand Myriad Mountains. On the bumpy mountain road, a shadow flashed across. It had been 5 days. 4 or 5 whole days, except for the night. Yi Chen had been searching for the location of the red all the time. The red that was located in a mountain that was shaped like a goat's head, surrounded by a dense forest, which was very eye-catching on the map. Unfortunately, only when he arrived at the Grand Myriad Mountains did he realize what it meant to look for a needle in a haystack. With the speed of searching for 100 mountains every day, Yi Chen had already searched for 500 mountains in 5 days. However, the Grand Myriad Mountains did not lack mountains at all. There were millions of mountains in total, which was equivalent to the population of a huge city. Of course, if there was no danger, Yi Chen could search for thousands of mountains in one day. Unfortunately, this was the Grand Myriad Mountains, not a place where he could do whatever he wanted. A wolf. In a mountain stream far away, a 10-meter-long, 3-meter-tall wolf-like demonic beast howled towards the sky. The horrifying sound spread out for hundreds of miles with a mountain stream as the center. The beast's chi was so strong that all of the low-rank demonic beasts nearby kneeled down on the ground, making whimpering sounds. Top-rank 6 demonic beast, the Wind Wolf. Yi Chen's body flashed and disappeared into the pile of rocks nearby. The Wind Wolf was as powerful as a peak-level late clasping Yuan realm martial artist, but ordinary peak-level late clasping Yuan realm martial artists would definitely die if they encountered it. Only those talented late clasping Yuan realm martial artists could fight against it. For example, if Yi Chen reached the late clasping Yuan realm, he would be able to defeat the Wind Wolf. And if he reached the peak-level late clasping Yuan realm, he might even be able to kill the Wind Wolf. Unfortunately, he was still far from being able to fight against it. Swoosh, 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 the Wind Wolf started its monthly patrol. Wherever it went, none of the demonic beasts dared to run away. All of them kneeled on the ground, not daring to move a single inch. In the air, the Wind Wolf glanced around, then opened its mouth and sucked a strong, demonic cow into its mouth. It bit the cow in half, and blood splashed everywhere. After a while, the Wind Wolf howled satisfyingly after it had finished its dessert. It flew far away and started patrolling its territory. Waiting until the Wind Wolf's aura disappeared, Yi Chen walked out from the pile of rocks. This Wind Wolf is definitely a king among the rank 6 demonic beasts. The top rank 6 demonic beasts I encountered in the ancient Path Mountains and the Triangle Mountains are much weaker than it. Normally, the classification of demonic beasts was very general. Take the rank 6 demonic beasts as an example. The weakest ones were normal rank 6 demonic beasts. The slightly more powerful ones were elite rank 6 demonic beasts, and the most powerful ones were top rank 6 demonic beasts. However, There were also different levels among the top rank 6 demonic beasts. For example, the two top rank 6 demonic beasts he encountered in the Ancient Path Mountains and the Triangle Mountains were only demonic beasts with normal bloodlines. However, this Wind Wolf had the bloodline of an ancient demonic beast, which was extremely noble. It was the king among all the rank 6 demonic beasts, and it had the potential to become a rank 7 demonic beast. Although the Wind Wolf is powerful, it can't do everything. I don't think I will encounter it again. Murmuring, Yi Chun continued to look for that mountain, which was shaped like a goat's head. Another 2 days passed. This afternoon, the sky over there is filled with purple mist. I am afraid it is extremely poisonous miasma. The area it covers is way too wide. On top of a small hill, Yi Chun was wearing a blue robe that was very similar to the color of the plants. At first glance, it was very hard to distinguish it. Let's go and have a look. It had been a week since he arrived at the 100,000 mountain range. Yi Chun did not want to miss any clues. A distance of several dozen kilometers could be covered in the time it took to eat a meal. This was because they did not dare to make a big fuss. Otherwise, they would only need a few dozen breaths. Shoo! On top of a huge tree, Yi Chun squatted on a branch. He looked through the dense leaves and saw the scene hundreds of meters away. Yi Chun frowned. In front of him was a dense forest. Outside of the forest, there were a large number of warriors guarding. These warriors were all wearing yellow robes, holding long blades in their hands. There was a blue long blade embroidered on their sleeves. They should be from a martial institution that specialized in blade arts. Most of these people were condensing reality realm warriors. There were also over 20 clasping Yuan realm warriors. All in all, there were at least 200 or 300 of them. Elder Tongue, what is that purple miasma up there? It seems to be very dangerous. Beside a huge rock outside the forest, a young man asked a black-haired elder. The black-haired elder glanced at the purple miasma and said, "That is the bone-corroding miasma. Before one's Zhen Qi is refined into Zhen Yuan, he or she will die immediately. Even the protective Zhen Qi will be corroded very quickly." Wow, so powerful. But how come I have never heard of the bone-corroding miasma? There are many things that you have never heard of. The bone-corroding miasma is very rare in the modern era. It can only be found in some ancient places. It is our Long Blade Martial School's fortune to find the bone-corroding miasma. We might be able to find some treasures in the forest. Wow, no wonder our headmaster has come in person and brought hundreds of people into the forest. He also asked us to stand guard outside and kill any warriors that pass by. All right, is there any bone-corroding miasma in the forest? Our headmaster and the others will not be in danger, right? Don't worry, there is no bone-corroding miasma in the forest. It can only be found above the forest. The black-haired elder was the head elder of the Long Blade Martial School. The Long Blade Martial School was an ordinary rank 9 institution thousands of miles away from here. This time, an elder of the school accidentally discovered the bone-corroding miasma and immediately went back to report. The headmaster of the Long Blade Martial School made a prompt decision and sent a big half of their people. Fortunately, the 100,000 mountain range between the Long Blade Martial School and the forest was not too dangerous. After losing dozens of people, they finally arrived at their destination. Sensing the conversation between the two with his soul power, Yi Chun pondered. The bone-corroding miasma was something that only existed in the ancient times. There might be some treasures in the forest. All right, the location of the red dot on the map seemed to be similar to this place. Taking out the map piece from his storage ring, Yi Chun's pupil shrank. There was a light purple mark on the pattern of the forest surrounding the Goat Head Mountain, which was most likely the bone-corroding miasma. But of course, even if it was just a coincidence, he still had to go in and take a look. Otherwise, he wouldn't know how long he would have to search for it. Chapter 183. Instead of going in directly, Yi Chun flashed his body and flew towards another direction of the jungle. After a long while, Yi Chun looked at the steep rock mountain in front of him and was speechless. There was actually a ring of natural rock mountains on the outskirts of the forest. They were over 1,000 meters tall, and above the rock mountains was the bone-corroding miasma. There was no gap between the two, so it was impossible to enter the forest from the rock mountains. Looking at the height of the bone corroding miasma, Yi Chun forced a smile. The height of the miasma was not that high. It was only 1,002 to 300 meters high. But no one knew how vast it was and how dangerous it would be if he flew up there. Once he ran into an accident and used up his Zhun Qi, he would definitely fall down and be corroded into ashes by the miasma. It seems that I still have to go in from that place. I might have to use force. Letting out a breath, Yi Chun went back the way he came. Thousands of miles away, in a 100,000 mountain range, boom! A thunderous sound reverberated through the sky and the earth. This wind wolf is powerful. I can't stop it. Tian Chong's clothes were torn, and blood was dripping down from his palms. Qin Hao was not any better than him. He stared at the wind wolf on the opposite mountain with a dark look. The two of them had been searching outside the 100,000 mountain range for a couple of days, but found nothing. Today, the wind wolf, the king of all rank 6 demonic beasts, had been chasing after them. The wind wolf was extremely fast, even faster than a peak-level late clasping Yuan realm martial artist. Although the two of them had great flying skills, they could never escape from it. Try to run, don't fight it with brute force. Tian Chong forced a smile. Of course, he knew that if he fought with the wind wolf, he might not be able to hurt it even if he lost all of his blood. Oh, whoa. The wind wolf's front paws shattered the mountain, and it darted over like a sharp arrow. Sky Dragon Battle King Spear. Air-breaking palm. A dark golden spear light surged up and turned into a dragon-shaped chi, which pounced out. Then, there were rows of huge vacuum palms that could cut off the airflow, slapping towards the wind wolf with the weight of Mount Tai. One spear in one palm. The timing was perfect. Apparently, it was not the first time that the two of them had joined hands. The wind wolf was so powerful that it tore apart the dragon-shaped chi stream with only one claw attack. As for the huge vacuum palms, they were shattered by the demonic chi it released. Run. The two of them did not expect to hurt the lunar wind wolf at all. They just wanted to buy some time to run away. Of course, they were not stupid. They did not run away from the sky. With their speed, the lunar wind wolf would soon catch up with them. Only by flying between the mountains would they have a chance. Mountains split open one after another, and the wind wolf of evil was still chasing after them. Look, there are people over there. They look like Qi Xiaofeng and Murong Qingsheng. Tian Chong pointed at the low sky in front of them. Qin Hao was overjoyed. Let's get closer and use them as our shields. Whoosh, whoosh. Under the threat of danger, the two of them moved at an unprecedented speed. Several li away, Qi Xiaofeng's face darkened and said, "These two bastards, how dare they lead the lunar wind wolves to us? Damn it. Let's go." Murong Qingsheng doesn't want to waste time fighting with the wind wolf. She activates the demonic force field, and the air around her is twisted. Murong Qingsheng's figure suddenly shoots out. For people and one beast chased each other, and the rumbling sounds were endless. Up. The noise caused by the chase was too loud, and it might attract other terrifying things. Murong Qingsheng raised her right hand, and a tens of meters tall hill was pulled up by her demonic force field, and smashed towards Tian Chong and Qin Hao, who were behind them. The hill covered the sky. Bitch! The corner of Qin Hao's mouth twitched, and he slapped towards the hill that was smashing towards him. Bang! The hill exploded, and countless huge rocks fell down from the sky. Within such a short while, the wind wolf of evil had already caught up with the two of them. It opened its mouth and let out a dense cloud of evil power. Ah! Tian Chong let out a shrill scream. He felt that his blood had been frozen, and his body became numb. Before he could ask for help, he was torn into pieces by the wind wolf of evil. Tian Chong, don't worry, I will take revenge for you. Qin Hao stared at Murong Qingsheng and grinned viciously, while a lustful light flashed across his eyes. In front of them, Murong Qingsheng didn't throw the hill towards Qin Hao anymore. Qin Hao was the target of the wind wolf, and once he died, the wind wolf would definitely target them, which was not a wise move. There is a dense jungle over there. Let's go. Qi Xiaofeng had been observing the terrain. He raised his head and saw a dense jungle, Where the trees in the jungle were hundreds of zhang tall, even hundreds of zhang tall, and amazingly thick. Qi Xiaofeng felt a bit happy. As long as they entered the jungle, the wind wolf wouldn't be able to find them no matter how powerful it was. Not to mention that these trees were thick enough. Even if one tree couldn't stop the wind wolf, they would be able to hold it off for a long time. Murong Qingxing nodded. On the outskirts of the jungle. Elder Tongue, more people are coming, and there's also a demonic beast. It's the wind wolf. These bastards, they actually lured the wind wolf here. The people of the Long Blade Martial School, who were guarding outside the jungle, panicked. Elder Tongue's face darkened. For days ago, there was a young man who fought his way into the jungle. After all, he didn't hurt any of our people. But these 3 people lured the wind wolf here. They are obviously trying to kill all of us. Damn it. Elder Tongue, what should we do? The wind wolf is not something that we can deal with. Even our headmaster can't do anything about it. Taking a deep breath, Elder Tongue yelled out coldly. All of you listen up. Go into the jungle now. But what? If you don't want to die, go in. Now. Following Elder Tongue's order, all the people of the Long Blade Martial School rushed into the jungle and disappeared without a trace. Let's go in as well. Activating the Sky Devil Force Field, Murong Qingcheng grabbed a hundreds of zhang tall tree in the air and darted towards Qin Hao like a javelin. She had never liked this guy since a long time ago. Murong Qingcheng, don't let me catch you. Otherwise, I'll make you beg for death. Qin Hao yelled out with a twisted face. Qi Xiaofeng sneered. Qin Hao, if you don't die today, I'll kill you next time. Swoosh. Swoosh. Both of them followed Qi Xiaofeng into the jungle. Oh, whoa. Qin Hao was the only one left outside the jungle. He had been blocked by the hundreds of zhang tall tree for a while, and was about to be caught up by the wind wolf. I was planning to use this Yuan light ball at the critical moment. Damn it. Qin Hao didn't care about anything else. He took out a cyan crystal ball from his storage ring. Except for the color, it was exactly the same as Yi Chen's blue crystal ball. He crushed the crystal ball, and a 1-foot-thick layer of cyan light shield enveloped Qin Hao's body. Within the shield, Qin Hao had an amazingly strong defensive power. Crack! The light shield twisted, and Qin Hao was slammed into the jungle by the gigantic claw. Along the way, he smashed and broke countless trees. If it weren't for the protection of the light shield, he would have been smashed into meat paste long ago. After chasing for so long, the wind wolf had only managed to kill one person, which made it quite annoyed. Without any hesitation, it darted into the jungle. The trees in the jungle were truly astonishing. Not only were they hundreds of feet tall, but they were also as thick as a wall. If they were hollowed out, they could definitely become a smaller skyscraper. It would be a piece of cake for thousands of people to live in. It was truly a wonder how they grew. Standing under the tree, Yi Chun felt like an ant. I've been in here for 4 days, and I haven't run into any demonic beasts, but what's with all those white bones? Did they kill each other? Yi Chun was a bit confused. Running into demonic beasts wasn't scary, as he could always run away, but not running into any demonic beasts would be very strange. Moreover, in this place where there weren't any demonic beasts, there were white bones everywhere. Some belonged to humans, and some belonged to demonic beasts. In the depths of the jungle, a series of shrill screams came out. What's going on? Yi Chun was confused. His body flashed, and he quietly flew over. At the same time, he released his soul power to its limit in case anything happened. In the depths of the jungle, there were hundreds of people there, and each of them had a cyan blade embroidered on their sleeves. Obviously, they were from the Long Blade Martial School. Leader, another 10 people died. We can't even see who the attacker is. All the dead people are just skin and bones. Their flesh and blood have all been sucked dry. An elder of the Long Blade Martial School said with a pale face. The leader of the Long Blade Martial School was a sturdy middle-aged man, holding a 2-meter-long sawtooth blade in his hand. He said calmly, "Everyone, listen to my order. Don't panic. Keep an eye on the surroundings and report to me immediately if you see anything. Don't act on your own." Yes, everyone yelled at the same time, but their voices were clearly shaking. "Third brother, what do you think is attacking us?" Within a blink of an eye, A person's flesh and blood were sucked dry, leaving only a layer of skin. Among the crowd, a young man who seemed to be in his 20s swallowed his saliva and said to the young man next to him. The young man shook his head. This jungle is very strange. It's located in the middle of the 100,000 mountain range, but there aren't any demonic beasts here. Take care of yourselves. The young man could no longer make any sound. It was as if his body had no bones, and he was getting shorter and shorter. Eventually, only a layer of human skin was left on the ground, which was indescribably weird. The young man's eyes were wide open, and there was blood coming out of them. He subconsciously looked in front of him and saw a thin and long shadow darting towards him. It was a cyan-red vine, and there was an opening at the end of the vine. Inside the opening, there was a blood-red mucous membrane and a few layers of sharp teeth, arranged in a spiral shape. The attacker is a vine. Everyone, be careful. A shrill scream was heard, and the young man's body was completely sucked dry, just like the young man's. His skin was wrapped in bones, and he was lying on the ground. Thousands of meters away, Yi Chen's soul power had sensed this scene, and he couldn't help but feel his heart beat faster. These vines are not kind creatures. I'm afraid they are some kind of horrifying plants left from the ancient times. They eat human flesh and blood, and those white bones are their masterpieces. Now, Yi Chen finally understood why there were no demonic beasts in this jungle. It was because all the demonic beasts that came here had been killed by the man-eating vines. Even with the strength of his soul power, he couldn't tell how long the vines were. It seemed that the entire jungle was within the attack range of the vines. In the middle of the crowd, the leader of the Long Blade Martial School yelled out, "Set up the battle formation." Swoosh! All the people of the Long Blade Martial School were facing the outside of the jungle, moving closer to each other, forming a large-scale battle formation within a battle formation. Hundreds of pairs of eyes were staring at the deep end of the jungle without blinking. Their palms, which were holding their long blades, were dripping with sweat, and sounds of swallowing saliva could be heard from time to time. Chapter 184. Why is there no movement? The pressure of the approaching storm was really unbearable. One of the young warriors was so nervous that he tried to cheer himself up. "Don't talk." The Long Blade Martial School elder next to him glared at him. Without making a sound, the greenish-red vines drilled out of the ground, instantly tearing apart the elder's protective true energy and piercing into his body. The surface of the arm-thick vines would sway from time to time, as if large masses of flesh and blood were being sent into the elder's body. Seeing himself turn into a bag of bones, the elder could no longer stay calm. He opened his mouth and let out a blood-curdling scream. In the next second, the battle formation was completely messed up. There's a vine coming out of the ground. Damn it, it's under my body. Help, help me. Screams and screams spread out one after another in this area. Despair flooded everyone's mind like a flood. Many of them felt that their hands and feet were numb, and they couldn't even breathe. The Long Blade Martial School's leader was called Li Yuan. He clenched his fists, took a deep breath, and shouted coldly. Split into groups of 10, spread out, and form a small battle formation. If you see a vine, chop it down as hard as you can. If you kill one, you'll have a higher chance of survival. Within this short period of time, more than 30 people had died, and 1/3 of them were killed by their own people. If this situation continued, everyone would collapse. In front of despair and fear, Li Yuan's words were not very effective. Except for a small number of people who followed his orders, most of the people had already fallen into a state of madness. Whenever they saw something approaching them, they would swing their blades at it with bloodshot eyes. The weakness of human beings was clearly shown at this moment. "I can't take it anymore. I want to leave. I want to leave this damn place. If this goes on, we'll all die." As more and more people died, some of the younger warriors finally collapsed. They desperately separated themselves from the crowd and ran as far as they could. If there was one, there would be a second. It was like a virus that spread like wildfire, and no one could stop it. These people didn't even manage to run far before they were sucked dry by the vines. Their protective Jinshi was as fragile as a piece of tofu. easily broken by a single poke. "Leader, if this goes on, we'll all die. We'd better run. It's better to let as many as we can escape than to be wiped out." All of the elders of the Long Blade Martial School were clasping Yuan realm martial artists, and their protective Jinqi was exceptionally strong. However, the attacks of the vines were way too frequent and weird, and they always targeted the areas where the protective Jinqi was the weakest. By now, 2 to 3 elders had already died, and the other elders couldn't help but yell out. Li Yuan was a peak level late, clasping Yuan realm martial artist. With the help of his protective Jinqi, he had managed to cut a lot of vines. However, at that moment, even though he wanted to, he did not have the strength to do so. There were more and more vines coming at him. Every time he cut one, more would attack him. His face was gloomy and pale. His voice contained true energy transmitted outwards. "Everyone retreat. Don't panic." Just as he finished speaking, an elder said in a trembling voice, "Sect Master, we can't escape. There are vines everywhere outside. We've been surrounded." "Damn it. Is the Long Blade Martial School going to perish here today?" Li Yuan and the other elders couldn't help but think pessimistically. "They're attacking. Oh my God." Countless greenish-red vines moved like snakes, covering the sky and covering the earth. Everywhere they passed, cultivators fell to the ground, their bodies sucked dry until only skin and bones remained. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. For the first time in his life, Li Yuan felt so powerless. Right now, he only had one thought in his mind, which was to kill as many vines as possible. With him as the center, sharp blade Qi spread out, shredding the greenish-red vines one after another. Yichen didn't care about the situation of the Long Blade Martial School anymore, because he had also been discovered by tens of vines. These vines didn't have eyes or noses, only a mouth. However, they seemed to have very sharp senses, easily discovering the weak spots of Yi Chen's protective Jinqi. Ji Hao unsheathed his dragon spring sword and cut 3 vines in half, sending a greenish-red juice splashing everywhere. Fortunately, I've cultivated the great mystery art to the 9th level, and the quality and quantity of my Jinqi has already surpassed the Jinqi cultivated with a low-rank Earth Realm martial art. Besides, I'm wearing a low-rank light armor, which can increase my defensive power by more than 10%. With these two factors added together, my defensive power is almost equal to that of a peak-level mid-clasping Yuan realm martial artist. While moving swiftly, Yichun cut the vines one after another, feeling a bit lucky. Soon, tens of vines were cut off one after another, but none of them could hurt Yichun. However, Yichen's eyebrows were knitted even more tightly. Probably because the vines had sensed that Yichun was a huge threat, countless vines had gathered over from all directions, gradually surrounding Yichun, leaving no space for him to escape. Yichen's expression didn't change. As long as he was protected by the sword intent, all kinds of negative emotions wouldn't be able to affect him, only making him calmer. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. When launching sneak attacks, the vines wouldn't make even the slightest sound. However, when launching a frontal attack, the vines' attacking speed had been raised to a whole new level, and they darted towards Yichun as fast as lightning. Swirling clouds. The dragon spring sword released an arc-shaped stream of sword chi, which rose straight up, twisting the airflow and forming a light blue tornado, shrouding Yichun. Puff, puff, puff. All the vines that were attacking Yichun were shredded into pieces by the tornado, and from time to time, a thick stream of sword chi darted out and cut off large amounts of vines. Pop! The tornado was suddenly penetrated, and a dark red vine darted towards Yichun. This tornado is mixed with Zhun Qi and can even cut steel into pieces when rotating at a high speed. However, this dark red vine was able to penetrate through it, which means it's much harder than ordinary cyan and red vines. This seems to be bad. As this thought flashed across his mind, Yichun swung his sword towards the dark red vine. With the help of his sword intent, the dark red vine wasn't indestructible and was easily cut into pieces. However, in the next moment, Yi Chun discovered that new ends of the dark red vine were growing out from the broken ends of the vine, and the sharp fangs were densely covered in a spiral shape. I can't stay here for long. After cutting off the dark red vine once again, Yi Chun activated his great mystery, Zhen Qi, with all of his power and infused it into the tornado, moving deeper into the jungle. The dark red vine followed closely behind, while the other cyan and red vines crazily blocked the tornado, trying to stop Yi Chun from moving forward. Yi Chun sneered and controlled the tornado to attack. Under the attack of the tornado, the vines were torn apart one after another, and the ground was covered with layers and layers of cyan and red vines. Yi Chun walked deeper and deeper into the jungle, and it seemed like there was no end to it. With the help of the pellet that could instantly replenish his Zhen Qi, Yi Chun was not in a hurry. He waited until the tornado weakened, and then performed the swirling wind and broken clouds again, moving forward. Damn it, what the hell is this? Qin Hao was completely surrounded by the greenish-red vines. Although his body-protecting Zhen Qi could temporarily save his life, his Zhen Qi was being consumed at an extremely fast speed. In just half an hour, he had already swallowed 3 Zhen Qi recovery pills. Shoo! A dark red vine that was as thick as a calf shot towards him. Crack! The vine was shattered by the vacuum giant palm, but soon it recovered completely. No, I have to get out of here. This jungle is way too dangerous. The consumption of Zhen Qi is not proportional to the recovery speed. I will die here sooner or later. Qin Hao was extremely annoyed. He had just escaped from the wind wolf, and now he was surrounded by cyan and red vines. Ever since he had entered the 100,000 mountain range, nothing had gone smoothly. Fortunately, he was not too far away from the jungle, so he should be able to get out of here. The vacuum giant palm burst out, and Qin Hao opened up a bloody path, rushing back the way he had come. Right at that moment, a big tree not far away from him was suddenly smashed in the middle, and a huge figure appeared in front of him. If it was not the wind wolf, what else could it be? A man and a beast were facing each other, but they did not notice that there was a purple gas spreading down from the sky. This gas was like a living creature, twisting and wriggling, and its color was extremely bright. Shoo! A huge hole appeared on Qin Hao's protective Zhen Qi, and the flesh and blood on that part were quickly corroded into ashes. The wind wolf in front of him was not any better. The purple gas was obviously the bone-corroding miasma above the jungle. When the big tree was smashed, the extremely heavy bone-corroding miasma sank down and spread out. I don't want to die like this. Qin Hao opened his mouth and roared out. Soon, his body was corroded into ashes. The wind wolf was extremely powerful, and it was surprisingly not killed by the bone-corroding miasma. Howling, it rushed back the way it came from. However, soon, its body became shorter and was corroded into ashes bit by bit. There was not even a trace of it left. It was even more horrifying than the vines in the jungle. The purple gas did not sink too much, and after it had spread to a certain area, it stopped expanding. Furthermore, the huge trees nearby were slowly absorbing the purple gas, and then releasing it out from the top of the trees, merging into the air above the jungle. A special balance had been formed between the two. In the middle of the jungle, Yi Chun raised his head and saw a mountain that was over 1,000 meters high. The front part of the mountain was protruding like a nose, and the two sides of the mountain were weirdly extending upwards, looking like the horns of a goat. Goat Head Mountain. It is indeed here. The vines were still chasing after Yi Chun. No one knew how long they were, or how many there were. Yi Chun kept killing the vines while rushing towards the nose of the mountain. When he got closer, Yi Chun found out that it was a huge cave. It was open like a goat's mouth, and it was pitch black inside. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. Let's go in first. Dispersing the tornado, Yi Chun's body flashed and disappeared into the mouth of the goat. The vines behind him followed him in like a tide. With his powerful soul power, Yi Chun could see the darkness as nothing. He smoothly went into the deep part of the cave, avoiding all the obstacles around him. There are stairs here. It seems like it was indeed made by someone. On the left side, Yi Chun found a secret staircase, which was curved and extended upwards. At first glance, it seemed to be a bit narrow and crowded. Yi Chun put a Zhenqi replenishing pellet into his mouth and pushed up his Zhenqi layer with all of his strength, jumping up. Right then, the vines behind him seemed to be hesitating. They wanted to chase after Yi Chun, but they were also hesitating. Shoo! 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 After a long while, countless vines gradually retracted and stopped chasing after Yi Chun. Chapter 185. The second floor was no longer pitch black. Countless luminous stones on the walls were emitting a soft light, brightening up the whole space. Once inside, even with Yi Chun's state of mind, he could not help but take a deep breath. So much wealth. That's right, it was indeed a lot of wealth because the second floor did not have only one thing, but all of them were very valuable. Everywhere he looked, there were boxes of gold casually piled up. Each box could contain 100,000 gold, and there were hundreds of boxes here, which added up to tens of millions of gold, which was comparable to the wealth of a mid-level family. Next to the boxes filled with gold were boxes of jewelry, including rubies, emeralds, top-quality agates, crystal necklaces, black pearls, emeralds, and jade, each of which was worth thousands of gold. The total value seemed to be no less than the hundreds of boxes of gold. Although gold and jewelry were easy to obtain for warriors, once it reached a certain amount, it would still be shocking. Most of the warriors would not be able to earn that much gold in their entire lives. Plus, the difference was that they earned it bit by bit and did not feel like it was a big deal. However, Yi Chun had just obtained such a huge amount of wealth all of a sudden. Let's put it away first. Yi Chun waved his hand, and the boxes of gold and jewelry flew up into the air, falling into the storage ring. Yeah, the low-rank storage ring is full. These boxes were too big. There were 500 of them in total, and the low-rank storage ring was only 1/10 full. Fortunately, Yi Chun still had a few low-rank storage rings and one mid-rank storage ring. After taking all the gold and jewelry, Yi Chun's eyes fell on the ground next to him. There were boxes of low-rank soul stones and a lot of mid-rank soul stones. A shocking amount of yuan qi from the soul stones gathered in the air, forming images of dragons, tigers, phoenixes, and tortoises. 100 boxes of low-rank soul stones, 5 boxes of mid-rank soul stones. Each box contains 10,000. Yi Chun's breathing sped up. The gold and jewelry had only slightly surprised him, but the amount of soul stones had shocked him. He was sure that the Sky Cloud Martial School's 10 years of savings would not even have 1,000,000 low-rank soul stones, not to mention 50,000 mid-rank soul stones. Keep. Without saying a word, Yi Chun put them all into his storage ring. With over 600 chests gone, the space on the second floor suddenly became much wider. Looking around, all the other treasures could be seen. There were 3 gourds of pills. The gourd was filled with qi replenishing pills. The gourd contained essence replenishing pills. The gourd was filled with spirit replenishing pills. The 3 kinds of dawn were auxiliary dawn that could enhance the human body's essence, qi, and spirit. They didn't seem to be of much use, but they could double the speed of a martial artist's cultivation. It should be known that the so-called innate talent was actually the exuberance of essence, qi, and spirit. Therefore, those with innate talent would be able to achieve twice the result with half the effort when cultivating Jin Qi. For example, Yi Chun's spirit, which was his soul force, was very strong. His comprehension was far beyond ordinary people, and his cultivation speed of martial arts was inconceivably fast. If his essence and qi could keep up, then his cultivation speed of Zhen Qi would reach the level of innate talent. Of course, during this period, he couldn't stop taking the supplement Qi Dan and supplement Essence Dan. There are 300 Dawn in one gourd. If I take one every 3 days, I can use it for almost 900 days. In Yi Chun's eyes, these 3 gourds of pills were priceless treasures. In fact, they were indeed priceless treasures. If he took them out for auction, even astral-reaching realm martial artists would be tempted or even go crazy. It should be known that the methods of making pills were usually in the hands of the big martial institutions, and the top-level pills were in the hands of the super martial institutions. An innocent man's wealth will get him into trouble. These 3 gourds of pills are enough to make an astral-reaching realm martial artist kill me. Putting the gourd into his storage ring, Yi-chun thought to himself. He walked to the corner, where there was a bookshelf. On the bookshelf were secret manuals. On the top floor were top-rank Mortal Realm secret manuals, 36 in total. Below there were low-rank Earth Realm secret manuals, 9 in total. Below there were 3 mid-rank Earth Realm secret manuals. And at the bottom was a high-rank Earth Realm secret manual. Without reading it, Yi-chun put away. He planned to read it when he had the time. Even if he read it now, he wouldn't have the time to cultivate. Letting out a heavy breath, Yi-chun looked around. The second floor had been cleaned out by him, and nothing was left. Let's go to the third floor. His body flashed. Yi-chun flew towards the stairs. Unexpectedly, the third floor was completely empty. There was only a door of light standing in the center, emitting a fine light. Standing in front of the light door, Yi-chun was a little surprised. He didn't know where this light door would transport him to. The unknown always made people hesitate, and Yi-chun was no exception. It took me a lot of effort to find this place. If I don't go in, I will regret it. Making up his mind, Yi-chun stepped into the light door. The space rippled like water, and the next second, Yi-chun disappeared into the light door. Having experienced teleportation once, Yi-chun was much calmer this time, and his mind was calm. After a moment, or maybe a day or two, Yi-chun's body relaxed, and he found himself in a magnificent stone room. The stone room didn't have a door and was surrounded by walls. On the ceiling was a shining crystal lamp, and below the crystal lamp was a stone table. On the stone table, a forearm-length huge key was floating. The key was white, as if it was made from a white crystal, and looked very simple and unadorned. So strange, there's such a big key here. Yi-chun reached out his hand, trying to grab the key, but found that there was an invisible force around the key, and it seemed to be impregnable. Break! Activating all of his Jun Chi, Yi-chun clenched his palm into a fist and punched the air. Dong! The invisible force didn't disperse, and instead, the huge counterforce made Yi-chun's feet leave the ground, and he was sent flying backwards, nearly crashing into the wall of the stone room. With a cold look, Yi-chun pulled out the dragon spring sword and released 4 streams of sword chi in a row. The sword chi shot out, and thunder roared. However, in the next moment, the sword chi was also bounced back with an even stronger force. Waving his sword and shattering the reflected sword chi, Yi-chun let out a bitter smile. Although he knew that the white key could be very useful, he couldn't get it with his current power. Temporarily giving up on the key, Yi-chun looked around the entire stone room. There was also a stone table in the corner, on which a plain jade slip was placed. Yi-chun waved his hand, and this time there was no strange invisible force, and the jade slip was easily sucked into his hand. However, after looking through the jade slip for a while, Yi-chun didn't find any special function. After thinking for a while, he injected his Jun Chi into it. All of a sudden, an image appeared in Ji Hao's mind. On the ground, there was a 100-meter-tall beast with a pair of horns on its head, roaring. It opened its mouth and blew a huge mountain away. Then it stamped its foot on the ground, and the ground split open. Lava spurted out from the cracks, dyeing the sky red. This beast was so powerful that it had never been seen or heard of before. Perhaps only life and death realm warriors could be this powerful. Just when the beast pulled out a thousands of zhang tall mountain, a stone pillar-like finger appeared in the air. The finger moved like a shooting star and pointed at the beast's forehead. Bang! The beast's body exploded and disappeared. While Yi-chun was still in shock, that finger was pointing at his forehead. There was no way for him to escape, and there was no way for him to retreat. All of a sudden, Yi-chun felt like his head was about to explode. Countless messy information flooded his brain, and soon, all of these messy information combined into a text and a martial exercise map. It turned out that this finger art was called the void-shattering finger art. However, what was taught to Yi-chun was not the complete void-shattering finger art, but the third movement. According to Yi-chun's understanding, only this one movement was already extremely powerful. That beast had the power of a life and death realm warrior, but it still couldn't handle the power of this finger art. Of course, he also knew that without enough power, even if he learned this finger art to its fullest, he still wouldn't be able to kill an astral-reaching realm warrior, not to mention that horrifying beast. For a warrior, no matter how powerful a martial skill was, he still needed the power to activate it. Otherwise, it would just be an empty shell, since cultivation was the most important thing. Besides the training method for the third movement of the void-shattering finger art, the information also told him that if he wanted to break through the invisible force outside of the white key, he would need to learn a little bit of the void-shattering finger art. Just a little bit would be enough, and he didn't need much. The time limit was 3 days. After 3 days, he would be teleported back, and he would never get the white key again. 3 days. Let me try. Yi-Chen sat on the ground with his legs crossed and started to study the mysterious third movement of the void-shattering finger art. 1 day later, Yi-Chen pointed out his finger, and the air twisted instantly, making a popping sound. Shaking his head, Yi-Chen closed his eyes and continued to study. On the second day, Yi-Chen opened his eyes and slowly pointed out his finger. Pooh! The invisible force around the white key released a light ripple, but soon it disappeared completely, and everything went back to normal. Still not working. Only 1 more day left. Yi-Chen forced a smile at first, then performed his sword intent to cut off all the distracting thoughts. He sank his mind into the study of the void-shattering finger art. From time to time, he would recall the scene of that huge finger shattering the beast. Time passed by bit. Yi-Chen's eyebrows would stretch and frown from time to time. Within that short period of time, it was hard to tell how many times they had changed. On the afternoon of the 3rd day, a wave of horrifying qi suddenly spread out from Yi-Chen's body. He suddenly opened both of his eyes. His pupils were chaotic, and no one could tell how deep they were. Break! Using all of his power, Yi-Chen pointed out his finger at the invisible force. Boom! The invisible force was finally shattered. No, more accurately, it was broken. The power of the void-shattering finger art was still not as powerful as the sword qi. However, the invisible force was closely related to the void-shattering finger art, which was why it was able to break the invisible force. Studying the void-shattering finger art was extremely exhausting. Yi-Chen wiped the sweat off his forehead, then took out a chi replenishing pill, a spirit replenishing pill, and a spirit replenishing pill, and put them into his mouth. After resting for a while, Yi-Chen walked to the white key. The key was the size of a forearm, with an ancient character written on the front. Other than that, there was nothing special about it, and it did not cause any changes. The moment Yi-Chen picked up the white key, a light door appeared in the stone room. The light door was faintly visible, and seemed like it could disappear at any second. Not daring to stay any longer, Yi-Chen put the white key back in his pocket, then flashed into the light door. When he reappeared, Yi-Chen had returned to the 2nd layer of the Goat Head Mountain. Along with a buzzing sound, the light door in the middle of the 2nd layer disappeared completely. It would be impossible for him to enter the stone room again in the future. No one knew where the stone room was, or if there were any other places in the stone room. When he was about to walk down to the next layer, Yi-Chen slightly frowned. His soul power had sensed that there were 2 people in the next layer. These 2 people were none other than Murong Qingsheng and Qi Xiaofeng. Why are they here? For a moment, Yi-Chen was confused. Chapter 186. In the pitch-black 1st floor, Murong Qingsheng and Qi Xiaofeng were surrounded by countless cyan red vines and couldn't move even an inch. The ground around them was covered in broken pieces of vines. I've taken hundreds of Zhen Qi replenishing pills in the past 3 days. Now, my Zhen Qi has become extremely turbid, and I only have less than 30% of my power left. Qi Xiaofeng smiled bitterly. Medicinal pills were indeed good, but they couldn't be taken too often, especially Zhen Qi replenishing pills. Taking 10 pills a day was already the limit. If one took more than 10 pills, his Zhen Qi would become turbid and unstable, and his fighting power would be greatly reduced. In the future, he would have to temper his Zhen Qi more often, otherwise there might be some side effects. This was why most of the martial artists wouldn't take medicinal pills to replenish their Jin Qi unless they were in a critical situation. Murong Qingsheng frowned. She had been practicing the Great Sky Devil art, which was a top-rank Earth realm martial art, and her Jin Qi was twice as much as Qi Xiaofeng's. However, during the past 3 days, she had taken almost 40 Jin Qi replenishing pills, and now she only had 60 to 70% of her power left. If not for the Great Sky Devil art and the Sky Devil power field, she would have been sucked dry by those vines long ago. Break! The Sky Devil power field was activated, and a large number of cyan red vines were twisted and shattered, clearing up an empty space. But soon, more vines filled up the space. Great Sky Devil palm print. For 3 days in a row, Murong Qingsheng hadn't slept a wink and had been fighting nonstop. No matter how strong her mental state was, she was starting to get annoyed. She launched the Great Sky Devil martial art, the Great Sky Devil palm print. As soon as she launched her palm print, all the vines within hundreds of meters in front of her were lifted into the air and couldn't move anymore. Then, with a loud bang, they all disappeared. Go! Let's go! The air twisted, and Murong Qingsheng was the first one to shoot towards the stairs leading to the second floor. What a powerful palm print! Qi Xiaofeng didn't dare to hesitate, and followed closely behind Murong Qingsheng. Ka-sie, the ground in front of the stairs cracked, and suddenly hundreds of dark red vines broke out from the ground, blocking their way. These dark red vines were as thick as calves and lined up like a dark red wall, giving off a great pressure. I'm afraid I'm going to die here. The previous Sky Devil's great palm print had drained most of Murong Qingsheng's true Qi, and the pill she had swallowed earlier was too slow in recovering her true Qi. It was impossible to replenish her true Qi in an instant. Wanting to break through the blockade of hundreds of dark red vines was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. The dark red vine speed was far faster than the cyan and red vines, and it was about to hit the two's protective Jin Qi in an instant. With their current strength, they would definitely die. Chi. Suddenly, a tornado swept past, blasting the dark red vines to the side, then wrapped around the two of them and rushed out. It's you. Murong Qingsheng didn't break free from Yi Chen's grasp and let him hug her. She looked a little surprised. Yi Chen looked at the green and red vines that were torn apart by the tornado and said lightly, "How did you get here?" He suspected that the two of them had followed him. Qi Xiaofeng explained, "Murong and I were looking for a magic herb, but we were forced into this jungle by the lunar wind wolf." "I see." Yi Chen was still a little suspicious, but he kept a calm expression on his face. "Are you suspecting us?" asked Murong Qingsheng. "That's not important. What's important is to get out of here." If the two of them were in their best condition, Yi Chen wouldn't have saved them. After all, both of them were more powerful than him, and their movement skills were also better than his. If they joined hands, they could kill him 10 times over. "No matter what, I'll remember this favor." Murong Qingsheng didn't say another word. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The dark red vines had caught up with them. With the intensity of their attacks, they were more than powerful enough to penetrate the tornado and tear apart the protective Jin Qi of the three of them. "Put your arms around my waist," said Yi Chen. Murong Qingsheng hesitated for a second, but when she saw the dark red vines chasing after them, she did as she was told and put her arms around Yi Chen's waist. Seeing this, Qi Xiaofeng's facial expression slightly froze. With his right hand free, Yi Chen pulled out the dragon spring sword, and without even turning his head around, he launched another large-scale attack of the shocking cloud sword art, lightning flashing and thunder rumbling. Along with a series of thunderous booms, tens of sword lights darted out. Along with a series of puffing sounds, the dark red vines that were chasing after them were all cut into pieces, but soon they grew out again and continued chasing after the tornado, which was still far away. In the jungle, this was the 5th time that Yi Chen had launched the swirling winds and clouds, and had consumed a lot of his Jin Qi. Without any intention to avoid arousing suspicion, Yi Chen put a pill into his mouth, which could instantly replenish his Jin Qi. Murong Qingsheng and Qi Xiaofeng didn't care too much about it. In their eyes, the pill Yi Chun had just swallowed was just an ordinary pill, and if he used too much of it, his Zhen Qi would still be weak. However, they were still a bit confused as to why Yi Chen's power was still at its peak. Could it be that he hadn't been attacked by the vines before, and thus had only taken a few pills? That was the only possible explanation, and it was precisely because of this that Yi Chun took the pellet without any hesitation. Rumble. The tornado rolled the three of them up and flew at an incredible speed. Under Yi Chen's control, the tornado was also incredibly agile, easily avoiding all kinds of obstacles. Brother Yi, this sword art of yours is really amazing. It can even wrap people up in it. Qi Xiaofeng couldn't help but praise. Yi Chun smiled, but didn't explain that he had adapted the swirling winds and clouds. The jungle was the base of the man-eating vines, and many dark red vines and cyan red vines had surrounded them. Star-shattering cut. Sky Devil force field. Although Murong Qingqing and Qi Xiaofeng weren't as powerful as Yi Chun, they still had some of their powers left. They both launched their special skills and started killing those vines. Yi Chun was quite happy, but the remaining power of the two still surprised him a bit, especially Murong Qingqing, who was still more powerful than Lin Yu. Fortunately, Yi Chun clearly understood the consequences of swallowing too many pills. Without a couple of months of hard work, he wouldn't be able to recover to his peak state. Soon, the three of them were not far away from the edge of the jungle. HM? Suddenly, Yi Chun frowned. "What's wrong?" asked Murong Qingqing. "A powerful living being is chasing us from under the ground. It's moving at an amazing speed. Soul power couldn't penetrate too deep into the ground. Therefore, Yi Chun didn't know what that powerful living being was, but he didn't doubt its power. What should we do now?" Just when they were about to leave this dangerous place, another wave of danger came. Both Murong Qingqing and Qi Xiaofeng were instantly thrown into confusion. Yi Chun took a deep breath and said, "I have a way to get out, but it'll cost me a lot." "What kind of cost?" "I'll compensate you," Qi Xiaofeng said without hesitation. "A yuan light ball." Yuan light ball. Qi Xiaofeng was surprised. He had heard about this kind of extremely rare, life-saving treasure. It was said that it could block any attack launched by any martial artist under the astral reaching realm. To clasping Yuan realm martial artists, a Yuan light ball was even more precious than a mid-rank great weapon or even a high-rank great weapon. After all, the latter couldn't guarantee their lives, but the Yuan light ball could. "I'll compensate you with 100,000 low rank and 3,000 mid-rank stones." Murong Qingqing also said, "I'll compensate you with 200,000 low rank and 3,000 mid-rank stones." Originally, both of them didn't have so many spirit stones, but they had earned quite a lot from the ancient inherited land that only happened once every 10 years. Just like Yi Chun, he had gained so many treasures and exchanged them for the institution. Seeing Yi Chen's indifference, Qi Xiaofeng said, "Brother Yi, do you think it's not enough?" All these soul stones were equivalent to the savings of 10 or even dozens of inner elders. Normal, clasping Yuan realm warriors would not even dare to think about it. Not everyone could be like them, who could enter the ancient inheritance place and gain so many treasures from it. Yi Chun said, "Yuan light ball is a life-saving treasure for me. If I use it this time, I won't have it next time. Nothing is more important than my life." Qi Xiaofeng was speechless. What Murong Qingqing said made sense. If he were in Murong Qingqing's shoes, he wouldn't be satisfied either. Murong Qingqing said, "What about a mid-rank storage ring?" Murong. Qi Xiaofeng was surprised. Murong Qingqing shook her head and said, "Worldly possessions are worldly possessions after all. Brother Yi, you're right. Worldly possessions are nothing compared to life." Yi Chun was shocked. Murong Qingqing actually had a mid-rank storage ring, which was priceless. After all, a low-rank storage ring was only as big as a room, while a mid-rank storage ring was as big as a grand hall. The difference between the two was 10 times, and the value of a mid-rank storage ring was 100 times higher. Right now, he was in need of a mid-rank storage ring. Those 600 chests of gold, jewelry, and spirit stones had taken up all of his low-rank storage rings, and his mid-rank storage ring was only left with 2/3 of its space. which might not be enough in the future. All right, deal. Yi Chun understood that this was their limit, not to mention that even if he left them behind, that terrifying creature might not let him go, and might even use the Yuan light ball in the end. Soon, the two of them gave the promised compensation to Yi Chun. The method was very simple. When the storage ring was fully activated, a light screen would appear, and the things that were thrown in the light screen would be put into the storage ring, without having to go through the ring's hand. Boom! Right at this moment, a large area of the ground behind them collapsed, and a gigantic human-shaped monster crawled out of the ground. It was over 100 meters tall, and its body was connected to numerous vines. Some were cyan red, some were dark red, and some were purple red, which they had never seen before. The man-eating vine mother had appeared. Seeing this, the three of them gasped. They suspected that even the Yuan light ball might not be able to block this attack. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. Countless vines flew towards the three of them. Among them, the purple-red vines were the rarest, but they were indeed the fastest. They had already broken the speed of sound, flashed across the air, and pierced through the tornado, reaching less than 3 feet away from the three of them. Pop! The purple-red vines were blocked, and a layer of blue light screen appeared around the three of them. The light screen was a foot thick, with blue streams of air constantly rotating within it. The defense of the light screen was amazing. What was even more frightening was that the purple-red vines had penetrated 1/3 of the light screen, and were even more powerful than the Wind Wolf. Chapter 187. If we weren't protected by this light shield, this attack would have killed us 10 times over. Qi Xiaofeng felt lucky, and the dissatisfaction he had towards Yi Chun was gone. Let's not waste any more time. Let's go. Carrying the two of them, Yi Chun tapped the ground with his foot and darted towards the outer edge of the jungle. Pop, 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 pop. The purple-red vines hit on the light shield from time to time, and each attack was powerful enough to break 1/3 of the light shield. Many times, the vines hit on the same spot. Fortunately, the defensive power inside the light shield wasn't static. It was constantly moving, and the damaged parts would be repaired in the next moment, keeping the entire light shield in an absolutely balanced state. Seeing that the purple-red vines couldn't break the light shield, the mother vine opened its mouth and let out a thigh-thick, dark purple vine. This vine moved as fast as lightning, and only let out a thunderous boom after it had darted miles away. It was actually a few times faster than the speed of sound. Sky Devil Great Palm. At this moment of life and death, Murong Qingcheng once again launched an extremely powerful martial skill. Her slim palm struck towards the air along with an ocean-like power. Boom! In front of her palm, all the objects within hundreds of meters were lifted into the air and turned into nothingness. Although that dark purple vine wasn't damaged, it seemed to have fallen into a swamp and started slowing down. From 3 times faster than the speed of sound, it slowed down to 2 times faster than the speed of sound, and then from 2 times faster to 1 time faster than the speed of sound. With blood gushing out from the corner of her mouth, Murong Qingcheng said to Yi Chun, "This is all I can do. The rest is up to you." "Don't worry." Yi Chun nodded. His soul power spread out in 2 directions. One was the entrance in front of him, and the other one was the movements of the man-eating vines behind him. After half a day of running, they were getting closer and closer to the outer entrance, and there were only 10 miles left. A dim light flashed on his storage ring, and a red light fireball appeared in his hand. This red light fireball was given to him by the demon child Lung Wuqing. There were 3 of them in total, and they were extremely powerful. They could even injure a mid-clasping Yuan realm martial artist. However, right now, mid-clasping Yuan realm martial artists were no longer a threat to Yi Chun, so there was no point for him to keep them. With a flick of his finger, the Scarlet Fusion Fireball drew a beautiful arc in the air and landed 3 feet away from Yi Chun. If one looked closely, one would notice that the Scarlet Fusion Fireball was only a hair's breadth away from the light barrier. At this time, Yi Chun shouted, "Explode!" Rumble. The blazing flame exploded, but the powerful force did not shatter the light shield. Instead, it caused the light shield to speed up and shoot into the distance like a meteor. Good idea. Qi Xiaofeng and Murong Qingqing's eyes brightened. Before, they thought that Yi Chun was just lucky, but now, they didn't think so anymore. In such a dangerous situation, he could actually stay so calm and think of using an external force to increase his speed. Compared to him, they were much more stupid and only knew how to solve problems with violence. Using the same method, Yi Chun exploded the remaining 2 scarlet fusion fireballs one after another. Instantly, his speed was boosted to an unimaginable level. Wherever he passed by, the air would twist intensely and strong gusts of wind would bring up layers of earth waves, following closely behind the light shield. Pop! The dark purple vine finally recovered from the image of the sky devil palm, and once again reached 3 times the speed of sound, chasing after them. 5 miles, 3 miles, 1 mile. Within dozens of blinks of an eye, the dark purple vine had shortened from 5 miles to 1 mile and was once again approaching Yi Chun, Murong Qingqing, and Murong Qingqing. Success or failure depends on this. Yi Chun kept moving, as if the dark purple vine was nothing to him. After a blink of an eye, the dark purple vine was less than 200 meters away from the 3 of them. Half a blink of an eye, it was less than 50 meters away. Release. Yi Chun held the core of the light shield in his hand and threw it backward. Shoo! The 3 of them flew out of the light shield and continued to rush toward the entrance 1 mile away. Swoosh! The light shield, which had yet to dissipate, twisted rapidly and was then pierced through by the dark purple vine. Its powerful defense only made the dark purple vine pause for a blink of an eye. Taking advantage of this blink of an eye, the 3 of them were less than 200 meters away from the entrance and 300 meters away from the dark purple vine. Unfortunately, 300 meters was only 1/3 of a blink of an eye for the dark purple vine. In such a short time, Yi Chun and the other 2 would definitely not be able to rush out 200 meters. Finally, the dark purple vine pierced through the bodies of the 3 of them. No, it was the Zhen Qi afterimages that had been pierced through. It turned out that Yi Chun had performed the shadow separating light art at the critical moment and had created 3 Zhen Qi afterimages where he had been standing. His real body had already appeared on the right front with the other 2. The next moment, the dark purple vine once again pierced through their Zhen Qi afterimages. Murong Qingqing and Qi Xiaofeng both gasped in shock. They couldn't even imagine how Yi Chun had managed to do that. The dark purple vine was way too fast, so fast that they couldn't even react. If it were them, they would definitely not be able to perform the Zhen Qi afterimages to confuse the man-eating vine. Of course, they didn't know that Yi Chun had a powerful soul power. Under the detection of his soul power, every single move of the dark purple vine was under his control. He knew exactly when it would arrive and when it would be the best time to confuse it. The man-eating vine was enraged. Over and over again, Ji Hao and Ji Hao had escaped from its attacks, which made it feel depressed and confused. The sunlight shone on the 3 of them, and they finally made it out of the jungle. However, it was not the time to relax yet. Yi Chun activated his Zhen Qi to its limit and darted towards the right front, where there was a rock mountain blocking the way. Obviously, Yi Chun had been worrying too much. The man-eating vine couldn't appear outside the jungle, as if there was an invisible barrier blocking it. Whoosh! Letting go of the 2, Yi Chun felt dizzy and nearly fainted. Within a short distance of tens of miles, he had been fighting against the man-eating vine, struggling on the edge of death. Although he had won in the end, only he himself knew how much energy he had consumed. To be honest, if it were any other clasping Yuan realm martial artist, he would have died dozens of times already. There was absolutely no chance for him to make it out of the jungle, not to mention carrying 2 people. Beside him, Murong Qingqing and Qi Xiaofeng were staring at Yi Chun as if he was a monster. What's wrong? Yi Chun's voice was hoarse. Qi Xiaofeng gave a bitter smile and said, "Apart from strength, compared to you, I feel like an idiot." "How'd you do that?" Yi Chun gave a bitter smile and responded, "If I don't want to die, this is the only way. This is the first time I admire someone, but now I have to admire you. You are not that powerful." Morong Qingcheng didn't even try to hide her admiration for Ji Hao. Let's get out of here first. Calming himself down, Yi Chun didn't want to dwell on this issue anymore. Hearing Qi Xiaofeng and Qi Xiaofeng nodded. They didn't want to come back to this place ever again. On their way out of the 100,000 mountain range, Yi Chun ran into people from the Long Blade Martial School. However, there were only tens of them left, and all of them seemed to have lost their wits. Shaking his head, Yi Chun felt lucky for these people. If they had stayed any longer and waited for the man-eating vine to come out, the entire Long Blade Martial School would have been annihilated. There weren't any demonic beasts in this direction. Half a day later, the three of them left the 100,000 mountain range and arrived at the territory controlled by the Long Blade Martial School. After another half a day, the three of them arrived at the only city near the 100,000 mountain range, Luoyi City, inside a private room of a large restaurant. The three of them were sitting inside. "Brother Yi, it's all thanks to you that we survived this time." Qi Xiaofeng poured a glass of wine for Yi Chun and said gratefully. Yi Chun said, "Strictly speaking, it's just a business deal between us. There's no such thing as gratitude." He had already accepted 500,000 low-ranked soul stones, 6,000 mid-ranked soul stones, and a mid-ranked storage ring from the two of them. He was already satisfied and didn't feel that the two of them owed him anything. You can't say that. Without you, even if we had all the wealth in the world, we wouldn't be alive to enjoy it. Murong Qingcheng raised her glass and clinked it against Yi Chen's. "In that case, this meal is my way of thanking you for your kindness." Picking up his glass, Yi Chun emptied it in one gulp. The sky was getting dark. After 3 rounds of drinking, the three of them were a little tired. They said goodbye to each other and went back to their own rooms to rest. In the guest room, Yi Chun lied on the soft bed and closed his eyes. Soon, he fell into a deep sleep and only had a slight trace of consciousness left in his mind. From yesterday to today, he was too tired. On the other side, Murong Qingcheng dragged her exhausted body out of the shower and fell into a deep sleep just like Yi Chun. The couple of days of continuous battling had taken a huge toll on her. Although she did not seem to have done much in the end, it was just that she had been startled for a while, which had drained her even more mentally. In the middle of the night, Yi Chun was the first one to wake up. "I feel much better now. This is the first time I felt so tired." Getting up from the bed, Yi Chun stretched his body, opened the window, and enjoyed the night breeze. After a long while, Yi Chun closed the window and thought, "I haven't checked the white key yet. I wonder what it can do." Taking out the arm-length white key, Yi Chun stared at it without blinking his eyes. Seeing that he couldn't see anything, Yi Chun injected his Zhen Qi into the key. Buzz! A white light shone, and a line of ancient characters appeared in the air. Emperor's Tomb, Aries constellation. Frowning, Yi Chun couldn't understand what this key had to do with the Aries constellation. Could it be the Aries constellation in the sky? But this is not that world. This is the true spirit continent. Perhaps it's just that the name is the same, but the content is different and can't be compared. Excluding the Aries constellation, Yi Chun had some thoughts about the Emperor's Tomb, which was probably the tomb of some powerful warrior. And this white key was indeed the key to open the tomb. No, it should be one of the keys. The map that he had gotten was not complete. It was only a piece of it. Judging from this, only by collecting all the keys would he be able to find the tomb and open it. After a slight disappointment, Yi Chun didn't care too much about it. The biggest gain this time should be the training method for one of the movements of the void-shattering finger art. If he could train it to the entry level, he would be able to beat all the other powerful warriors of the same generation. Once he trained it to the completion level, its power would be unimaginable. In his mind, the scene of that huge finger shattering the demon beast was still vivid. The void-shattering finger is too hard to train. I won't be able to make any progress in a short period of time. I should take a look at that high-rank Earth Realm manual first. In the second layer of the Goat Head Mountain, Yi Chun had gotten a lot of manuals, and the best one among them was a high-rank Earth Realm manual. He didn't have time to read it before, but now he could study it. Chapter 188. A dim light flickered, and a secret manual appeared in Yi Chen's hand. Yi Chen opened it, Flow Luo 3 mysterious spell, high rank Earth Realm secret art. Secret art? Just by reading a few words, Yi Chen's heart started to beat faster. Normally, anything related to a secret art would be a good thing. The so-called secret art was a secret art that ordinary people would not even have a chance to see. It was more valuable than a martial art of the same rank. Calming himself down, Yi Chen continued to read. This secret art is a secret art that can increase one's movement art. It is divided into 3 realms. The first realm can increase one's movement art by 1 rank. The second realm can increase 2 ranks. And the third realm can increase 3 ranks, all the way to the top rank Earth Realm movement art. Closing the manual, a smile appeared on Yi Chen's face. This manual had arrived just in time. Although the separating shadows flying art was very good, as it could separate Zhenqi shadows to confuse the enemies at the critical moment. But as the power increased, the weakness of the separating shadows flying art would be increased, which was its slow speed. Of course, it might not be slow among the other movement arts of the same rank. It could be counted as a top-rank Earth Realm movement art. However, all the martial geniuses he had met had trained a mid-rank Earth Realm movement art or a high-rank one. In the future, he might even meet a martial genius who had trained a top-rank Earth Realm movement art. Compared to them, the speed of the separating shadows flying art was definitely the weakness. Now, the problem was completely solved. As long as he trained the Flow Luo 3 mysterious spell to the first realm, the separating shadows flying art would be increased to the mid-rank Earth Realm. Once he trained it to the second realm, it would be increased to the high-rank Earth Realm. If he trained it to the third realm, it would reach the top-rank Earth Realm. This meant that the value of the Flow Luo 3 mysterious spell was equivalent to a top-rank Earth Realm movement art, which would allow him to be as fast as others, or even faster than others. Secret arts are usually very hard to train. This Flow Luo 3 mysterious spell is probably as hard as a top-rank Earth Realm martial art. It should be impossible to reach the third realm so easily. However, the first realm could increase 1 rank, which could be used for a long time. After a couple of hours, it would be dawn. Yi Chen didn't feel sleepy anymore, so he started to practice the great mystery art and his Zhenqi. Before cultivating, he swallowed a replenishing essence pill, a replenishing qi pill, and a replenishing spirit pill. Then he held a piece of low-grade spirit stone in each hand and entered into a state of cultivation. When the medicinal effects started to take effect, Yi Chen was pleasantly surprised to find that his cultivation speed had increased by about 30%. In other words, cultivating for 13 days in the past was equivalent to cultivating for 10 days now. In a year, he could save more than 80 days. After reaching the clasping Yuan realm, it is getting harder and harder to increase my cultivation. With these 3 kinds of pellets, I would be able to increase my cultivation even faster. After calming himself down, Yi Chen began to cultivate. The night quickly faded. The next day, early morning, in the lobby of the restaurant, the 3 of them sat by the window and were having breakfast. "All right, Brother Yi, why are you still using ordinary weapons? If you had a low-grade sword, your power would definitely improve by 10 to 20%. Qi Xiaofeng asked abruptly. Yi Chen said, "It's hard to find a suitable weapon. I would like to buy a low-grade sword in auction." Murong Qingchang said, "Weapon auctions are usually held once a year or even longer. Why don't you go to the martial city in the Black Dragon Empire? It's a city of martial artists. Many martial artists would find some treasures that they don't need during their travels and trade with each other. Of course, spirit stones are the hard currency among martial artists. You can also buy them." The martial city? Yi Chen had never heard of it. Qi Xiaofeng nodded and said, "Yes, I've been to the martial city once. There are millions of martial artists gathered there, and 80% of them are above the condensing reality realm. There are also a lot of clasping Yuan realm and astral reaching realm martial artists. Sometimes, there are even Sea of Souls realm martial artists. It's very famous in the entire South Shore region. If you are willing to pay a high price, you can easily buy a low-grade sword. If that's the case, I do need to go there. A low-grade weapon could increase the attacking power by 10 to 20%, which was much more valuable than ordinary weapons. Yichen decided that his next stop would be the Black Dragon Empire. He had always wanted to see the Black Dragon Empire, one of the 3 largest empires in the South Shore region. Murong Qingchang said, "I'm going back to the Black Dragon Empire as well. You and I could go together." Hearing this, Qi Xiaofeng's expression changed. Then he smiled bitterly in his mind. He had planned to spend a few more days with Murong Qingcheng, but now it seemed that his plan was ruined. "Thank you." Yichen nodded. After breakfast, Yichun and Murong Qingcheng started their journey. The spirit-speaking nation was not far from the Black Dragon Empire, only about 70 to 80,000 miles away. At a normal speed, it would take them a week to get there. On the way, Yichen had been practicing the Flow Rudra 3 mysterious spell every day, trying to reach the first level as soon as possible and improve the separating shadow art to the mid-rank Earth realm. As for Murong Qingcheng, she had been training her Zhen Qi especially hard. Because she had swallowed too many pellets, her power had dropped to 60 to 70% of her peak. Although the Sky Devil Martial School had many secret Zhen Qi training spells, she had only recovered 80% of her power in a couple of days. Of course, this speed had already shocked Yichun. He estimated that she would have recovered 90% of her power by the time they arrived at the Black Dragon Empire. A rank 6 martial institution is indeed a super martial institution. They're so powerful. With only this Zhen Qi training spell, they can beat all the rank 7 martial institutions. In fact, Yichun had underestimated Murong Qingcheng and the rank 6 martial institutions. On the 6th day, Murong Qingcheng, who had finished her training, stood up and activated the Sky Devil Power Field with all of her power. Immediately, a small mountain nearby was crushed, as it couldn't bear the sudden explosion of the power field. "You've recovered your power." Yichun was surprised. Murong Qingcheng nodded. "Actually, I didn't take too many pellets this time. 2 years ago, the Sky Devil Martial School had a war with another rank 6 martial institution. During that war, I took a whole 50 pellets in one day and killed over 20 clasping Yuan realm warriors." A war with a rank 6 martial institution? It was just a small fight. If it was a real war, I probably wouldn't be standing here anymore. Murong Qingcheng looked calm. "You killed over 20 clasping Yuan realm warriors in a small fight. Clasping Yuan realm warriors from a rank 6 martial institution are so worthless." Yichun shook his head. He couldn't imagine the power of a rank 6 martial institution. After another day, the two finally arrived at the border of the Black Dragon Empire. In front of the two was a 3,000 zhang tall mountain. Except for its height, this mountain looked ordinary. However, it was emitting a terrifying aura. Yichun found that a lot of warriors who came here would choose to take a detour. Murong Qingcheng introduced, according to the legend, a life and death realm warrior once died on this mountain. His blood dyed the top of the mountain red. His powerful consciousness had merged with the mountain, forming an extremely oppressive and horrifying aura. Normal warriors would often go crazy and die if they got too close. "What's the name of this mountain?" "The Fallen Mountain,"